Da 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 da.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to another exhilarating edition of the Court Martial Podcast, simulcasted with TAW Gaming and the Totally Awesome Podcast. I am your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty, here with the proprietor of TAW Gaming himself. I'm not even going to get into the extravagance here because we've got so diddly darn much to talk about. And because we're not in the first 2 minutes yet, I cannot profane my way through this mundane because it is the spectacular show of shows. And now that my filibuster is over, JoshAgeddon can finally take over. How you doing, buddy?
You know that album or two that you did called Mixed Bag?
I do.
That's kind of how I feel right now. Also, everyone...
The links are in the description.
Yes, somewhere. There's a cavalcade of links and descriptions and even more links and no Zeldas yet. But
not yet.
Welcome to the Totally Awesome Podcast. Once again, we're simulcasting here with our friends over at the Court Martial Podcast. It is just the two of us today because Skyler is elsewhere.
Skyler wanted to be here so much, but he is actually ascended into heaven because he just died of happiness knowing that he was right about The Rock all along. And we plebes here on Earth have finally come to the realization that he has, and he has been basking in the glory of him being correct.
Yeah.
And so much that he went right to heaven.
Now
didn't even do the dying and funeral part. He's just right at heaven. So he'll be back to talk about it and another time. But
I hate that finally he's stolen this gimmick of mine. Usually it's my gimmick for me to have an opinion on something, and time slowly proves me correct. So now Skyler's stolen that from me.
It wasn't that. It was just one calendar year. Usually it takes 4 or 5 for us to come around on your ideas.
Yeah, so he's sped run mine.
That's right. He's doing the abbreviated version, the abridged version, perhaps.
Yes.
But there is no bridge too far for our good friend Skyler Greenberg to cross and tell us how he feels. So if he does decide to airdrop some notes, we will read them. Mm-hmm. But we will see how the night progresses. And we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to try to cram, at least in the TAW half of this, both of the nights into one night. Now, with CMP, we might do let's take a quick break and then resume, and then you'll get a second podcast to kind of break it up a little bit, because I'm assuming it's going to be a while between the two of us while we're discussing all of this lovely subject matter and how we feel about it and how much The Rock can go figgity fuck himself.
Yeah, with 14 matches is nothing to sneeze at.
Now, I know this, or as the layman's term understand it, one AEW pay-per-view. So we have got one AEW pay-per-view to talk about, but it happens to be the show of shows, the greatest show in Las Vegas, and that is faint praise, considering that every time they go to Vegas, they seem to not leave with what they think they came with, or they were going to get out of it, at least in my opinion. But let's talk about night 1 and night 2. Overall, your thoughts on WrestleMania weekend?
Like I said at the outset, you made 2 albums, both of them called Mixed Bag, although one of them was called Mixed Bag 2. This show was weird, in all honesty. This was a strange WrestleMania because night 1 I thought was decent. I thought it was fine. It felt more like a B show than WrestleMania. And then the main event saved the entire show, for me. And then night 2 was the opposite, where the show was great up and down, and then the main event nearly ruined it. And I'm just like, can we not just have a show where the first everything else is good and it ends good? Were we spoiled too much last year?
100%.
We were way
100%. Are you kidding me?
We were spoiled so rotten with WrestleMania 40.
So hard because that was the sign of good faith of like times are changing. But that doesn't mean that was going to be a standard that they could possibly meet all the time. Hell no. That was a special happenstance that is very rare, honestly. I mean, we didn't see it for WWE for the longest time, but they finally gave us what was coming.
Yeah.
And now,
I mean, on both shows, there was more good than bad. But in my opinion, like, the thing I was looking forward to most the entire weekend was John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Mostly because I was very curious as to what they were going to do.
yeah.
Quickly turned into my least favorite thing on both nights. But we'll get more in depth later.
Yeah, we're going to get into all of this, and then we're going to try and keep this relatively short. And while I love Skyler, doing a 3-man booth on a 14-match card was going to lend itself for this going the length of an actual AEW show.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So for the interest of not doing that, we'll try to kind of move this along as best as we can. My overall thoughts on the nights, was I actually really enjoyed this WrestleMania. All up and down, I really enjoyed this WrestleMania. I thought all the matches were actually quite good. The wild thing is, it's amazing how much a good crowd can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how the vibes of how a match is going down can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And because all in all, I think that they gave us 2 very good nights of action. But some finishes were questionable.
Absolutely.
Some finishes were questionable. And some of the matches were otherwise good matches that were ruined by an otherwise dead crowd.
Yeah. That was more of a problem with night 1 than night 2, though.
Yes. But I think that both nights actually were quite solid. But I'm not saying that the way that people feel about the show as a result of that main event doesn't put kind of a poison mushroom into the batch. You know, it's one spoiled apple ruins the batch, or whatever the adage is. But that's I understand why people would be upset at it when otherwise I thought it was a very good main event.
Dude, you have no idea. People were furious.
Shit.
With this main event. No, like most people were like with night 1, okay, show saved by the main event. What pissed off people the most was the main event of night 2. Mostly people are furious with The Rock. Some people are mad at Triple H, but most people are furious with The Rock.
And I can't wait to join them. And we are going to save a special time at the end for our Rock promos.
Yes.
So just wait, folks. If that's what you're aiming for, and depending on whether you're watching this on the Court Martial podcast, that might be on the second half of this WrestleMania review. So stay tuned. But let's get into the action. First of all, we got Paul Rudy Giuliani's tan Heyman. And he was tan. Boy, yes. He definitely got the spray tan. Uso comes walking down. Got a split reaction a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Fiend Mania. God, that song drove me crazy all weekend.
It's been driving me crazy for months now. The first time we heard it was last year. And I was like, wow, that song sucks. And now I'm so grateful. I think one of my favorite things coming out of this WrestleMania is after today, I'm never going to have to hear that again.
Yeah, being done well, unless he becomes a wrestler.
just shut the fuck up, Sean.
No, you think? Skyler once said that just wait until we get Travis Scott versus Bad Bunny on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, that'll be an immediate shoe-in for Crapley for worst match of whatever year.
I don't think any of us will end up watching it.
No,
I think
absolutely
we'll all skip it.
It'll be one match where rooting for someone or both to get seriously injured won't exactly be the worst thing. Yeah,
well, and speaking of people who are almost seriously injured, Triple H comes out to do the WrestleMania promo, the Welcome to WrestleMania promo, and I have to say, there was this really funny, he gives this promo about, like, this is when the future is the now, and now we're experiencing now. And it reminded me of that moment in Spaceballs when they're, like, watching themselves. and they're like, go back to, wait, where are we? Now. Everything that happens now is happening now. What happened to then? We passed it. When? Just now. We're in now.
That's such a good reference.
And yeah, it just cracked me up. And then, welcome to WrestleMania, and everyone clapped kind of as this first night of Vegas met. This crowd sucked ass.
Whenever they go to Vegas, the crowd is ass. WWE, can we never go to Vegas again? Just the entire state of Nevada.
I would love to be done with it.
Yeah.
I would love to be done with it. If we never see another Vegas wrestler, you can go there for a Beast show. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Go there for, I don't know, the Great Balls of Fire. You still do that show, right? And go there for that, but not for WrestleMania, because it was. I mean, to be fair to night 2, much hotter crowd.
Yes.
Much hotter crowd for night 2.
I guess they got caffeinated before night 2 started.
Yeah, the first night, everybody was just sleeping at the wheel. And there were some good matches that happened on night 1. We get the Raiders cheerleaders and the color guard coming out for not really main event Jey Uso versus
Can we just start calling him Curtain Jerker Jey Uso?
Yeah, Jerker Jay.
Jerker Jay.
Maybe we shouldn't use that. Maybe we shouldn't use that.
It's me, Oos. Jerker Jay.
Yeah, I just oosed all over the place.
Well, yeah, you were jerking it.
Actually, you know what? That's funny, because on night 2, there was that sign that says, I just yeeted. And I thought that was really funny just on that basis. But anyway, what were your thoughts about this matchup?
Well, firstly, I will say we were criticizing the crowd. The stage setup, I thought, looked gorgeous.
There were fans that were seated on that stage setup.
And I don't even want to know how much those tickets cost. Can you imagine?
It probably more than my salary.
Probably more than any amount of money I've ever had at any point in my life. Yeah. The collective amount of money that I've spent on Monster Energy and McDonald's.
I think the Yu-Gi-Oh card budget would not even buy.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty extensive, when you start buying the cardboard crack, that's what we call it there on the mean streets of Battle City. But in any case, I wish Skyler were here. He would at least go boo at all of my jokes.
Don't worry, he'll leave some comments in the comment section.
He will. He sure will. He sure will.
But as for this match, I thought it was a decent opener. Considering what we got, it was perfectly placed at the beginning. Gunther was trying his best, and Jay was there. Which is solid.
Well, I thought that this match was actually pretty good, considering who was in it. Mm-hmm. For Jey Uso, he was trying to diversify himself a little bit.
He was.
And you could tell he was trying to beat the reputation that people were saying. And I could sense that he was trying hard here. Gunther is terrific as always. Mm-hmm. I really liked most of this match until the finish. But most of the rest of this was actually very good.
Jay pulled out a really good looking German suplex. And he did a decent powerbomb. And
there was quite a few things that he got in here that I liked.
He only did like 1 or 2 super kicks, which made me I was like, who are you and what have you done with any of the Usos?
Yeah, it was just at the end. Well, because Gunther's leading it, and I'm sure that Gunther helped put together the match, But, I love the collar and elbow tie-up is acknowledged for the first part of the match. Somebody, for the love of God, keep Alicia Taylor away from wool sweaters and light sockets.
She was horrific on this. There was one, I think it was the opener for night 2, where she stuttered saying the hometown of someone, like Tennessee or whatever she said, and I laughed out loud. I will say terrible. This.
While she is desperately trying to be Sam Irvin,
mm-hmm.
and you could tell she's desperately trying to be Sam Irvin, I did kind of have to laugh because Alicia Taylor does have the deep bass voice that Sam Irvin kept trying to clench her fist to get. Mm-hmm. Alicia Taylor has it. It's just that she's now sounding like Sam Irvin trying to sound like Alicia Taylor.
Yes. She's so bad.
I don't even dislike this woman. I don't know this woman at all. But for the love of God, her hair is ridiculous.
It's
somebody keep this woman away from light sockets. She must
I was just about to say, she
always.
looks like she stuck her tongue in a light bulb socket.
I know. That's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
For this match, there was one thing in particular that I did not like. I actually did not mind the finish. What I was kind of annoyed by, the belt shot towards the end. I liked the belt shot, and I liked the way they did it. Everything was timed perfectly.
Yeah.
Jay choking out Gunther would have worked so much better if Jay was covered in blood.
Agreed.
This match and that win needed some juice, especially considering what happened to Jimmy.
Especially considering we didn't really get any juice on the whole weekend.
No, the only person that got
except for Tiffany, but that was not.
Yeah, except Tiffany, but that was hard way.
Yeah, but that's actually, I didn't think about that. But that's for all of these blood feuds they had. Where was the blood?
Yeah,
And
I kind of get it, considering this was the opener, and that's not something you should really be doing at the beginning.
Right.
But still, it would have gone over better. It would have made Jay look tougher if he was covered in blood choking out Gunther.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And actually, you could kind of argue that the placement of this match, if you put this on, say, 4th.
But
here's the thing. 4th in this situation is actually a good spot because you've got a crowd that's had a couple of matches to cool down, and boy, did they.
Yeah.
And this would be that would be a time to kind of wake people up with a good big match in between where you could get juice and then cool down with a couple other matches before the main event. If you're not going to have this as a main event, but in any case, I did like when they did like the body slam tease where they couldn't get it to then Jay finally getting it. But then there was a great chop that quickly regains the advantage for Gunther, and then the boos, that came right after that. I never really liked chain spots. This is a criticism of Gunther, actually, and he's not the only guy who does this. Like Kevin Owens used to do this a lot. I've never really loved having chain spots, like 3 big moves in quick succession, like the superplex into the quick drop kick into the power bomb without any selling in between, and just picking them back up and hitting that. That's just a pet peeve of mine. But it's Gunther. What am I going to do? The powerbomb Rana with the Uso splash got a 2 count, which was cool.
That Rana, that was the most well done Rana on the show, by the way.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true. That's what I mean. He was trying. There was no hot dogging at all from Jay.
Yeah.
It was so restrained on his part. Like there was not a super kick yet in the timeline we're talking about. Then we get the belt shot with the Gunther splash. 2 count.
Which was a good near fall. There were a few points where I was like, oh my god, are they going to have Gunther win?
Yeah. It looked it. I wasn't sure. I mean, I honestly wasn't sure. I was
about 95% sure that Jay was going to win, but there was like 1 or 2 moments in the match where I was like, oh my god, Gunther might win this.
Well, it seemed like it was like Jay was such a shoo-in to win it, considering the story, that this might be the one time when they decide to like change up the story and just swerve people. I thought maybe this is where they'll take, the different direction, but they didn't. And I'm not saying that I'm upset with Jay finally winning this belt and this now beginning, this is the peak.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're at the peak.
Yeah.
And
now we're about to, we're going to start the falling action.
Yeah. And Jey Uso hit a German and a power bomb, which were nice. Then we get the super kicks.
Which, again, credit to Jay. Credit to Jay. He saved it till the end.
He did.
This was not. This was not the great super kick bonanza of last year.
No, super kick, and the spears actually looked halfway decent.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. No, and he needed to have a better Mania outing than that.
Yes.
And then we get the 3 Uso splashes. Now, for me, the 3 Uso splashes would have been plenty.
Yeah.
Just pin the dude and let it be that. That's it. And I also think the crowd would have popped a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because that would have been, I think, a little bit more of a definitive win.
Yeah, putting him in the sleeper and the quick tap kind of had the, oh, it's over, yay!
Yeah, and it didn't quite have the same landing that I thought it should have for Jay, because Jay needed to definitively beat Gunther.
Yeah.
Like, he needed to definitively beat him. But this weird thing of, like, Gunther doesn't like being choked is, like, canonically a thing with him.
Yeah.
Because of this feud he had with Ilya, where Ilya got a quick choke tap out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going on with that. Very vanilla in bed, I suppose.
Missionary position every single night.
Hey, when your name is Gunther and you're the world's champion, you were the world's champion. Who cares?
Maybe Austrians just don't like to get that freaky.
I don't know. I honestly can't say. But when it happened, I was like, what I wrote down in alt caps was, wait, what? Hold on, let's talk this finish over. Let's talk about this.
Honestly, I was kind of like, I don't hate it, but I don't know if I would have done that.
Well, I don't think it necessarily damages Gunther terribly, but it's just, to the crowd, that's a surprise. Like, of all the people to make Gunther submit, it's Jay. I don't know. It's of all this, like, submission technicians you could have put in with him, like a Gable or somebody else who, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I get why they did it. I don't know, man. I just didn't like this.
Would have worked better with Juice.
It would have worked better with Juice.
Could you imagine that visual of a bloody Jay tapping out Gunther? That would have been great.
Yeah. That, I think, would have been better, and also not in that quick a time.
Yeah.
It's just the speed of the tap.
Yeah.
It's just and a speed of the tap to Jey Uso. of all the people, it's just, I don't know. I had come to terms with Jay winning the belt, but just that,
not like
that
this.
Way, the world title finishes on this WrestleMania really left a lot to be desired.
Oh yeah, I agree. I didn't hate it. I just would have preferred a little bit of blood. But I also think, like, because they said, like, with the one thing they've been doing since Lee Fitting took over, like, the stats, this is only the third time that Gunther has lost a match, period. We're not going to talk about Survivor Series 2019. So
didn't happen.
I don't think this hurts him at all.
No, I don't think it does either. And that's the thing. Is Gunther is always doing exactly what he needs to be doing for him. So I'm sure that this is what I said at the time was, like, I'm sure this is leading to some sort of character development with him, you know, where this is going to really mess with him psychologically. And I'm down for that. Okay. I'm down to see where they're going to go with this, with how Gunther's doing, because he does need a kind of a fresher coat of paint, to be fair. And I think having this sort of level of insecurity, that's a weird thing to say, but I think that's going to actually be helpful to Gunther long term. It's just, God, I don't know about this finish, man. I don't hate it, right? But I will say this: I would have rather Gunther tapped than Cody get choked out. Yeah. So fine. If it had to come to that, I will take this. And know that they are probably coming up with something interesting for Gunther down the road, because they clearly feel very much that their investment is worth their time in Gunther.
Hey, this is the third straight WrestleMania where he's come in as champion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a really good point. Even though his WrestleMania record is leaving a lot to be desired.
Yeah, 1-2,
not great. But we would normally say, what did Skyler have to say about this, and read some incoherent letters, but unfortunately, Skyler, we miss you.
Come back to us.
Come back to us.
Tell us about how we were wrong.
Bottle. Yeah.
Tell us about how you were right and we were wrong, and how we can suck your dick.
Yes, well, I don't know about that last part, but the first two, I don't know about the finish of that one, just like this match.
We want to yeet with you, Skyler.
In any case, well, is it while we are yeeting, all of the fans went to go eating, so nobody gave a flying fuck about the next match.
Yeah.
And it's sad because these guys busted their ass in this match.
They were laying it in this match. It was the World Tag Team title match, the War Raiders versus the New Day, in a match that, if this took place at WrestleMania 36 in the empty arena, it would basically have had the same like crowd effect.
God, this was sad. Now, to be fair, I shouldn't throw stones at the people who went to the concession stand, because I went to take a shower at the first part of this match. I was like, I didn't even know that they were going to be on next, but I was like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the tag match next, so I'm going to go take a shower.
Yeah, you weren't wrong.
And I wasn't wrong. And I came in right as Eric, I think it is, or Hanson, who I know him as, is double squishing the New Day on the ring apron.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, good time to come back in. And but what I said immediately was not surprised that this is the cool down.
Yeah.
But it was like a freeze over.
Unfortunately, they were trying really hard, but
so hard.
The problem is, after the New Day turned on Big E, they kind of had them do, like, them having the New Day come out and not be able to cut promos because the crowd kept booing them. That was great. But then they just kept having them do that, and then they had them lose. And then they had them lose more. And then, like, a month or so went by, and they cooled off. And after they cooled off, then they started winning matches. And now we're here, and no one really cares. So...
Well, and also they made the fatal mistake of being a tag team.
I can feel the hurt in your soul, Sean.
I am in so much pain. I am mourning the death of tag team wrestling. At this point, I'm just hoping that there's that one Undertaker hand that pulls up out of the dirt at some point for tag teams, that they could maybe be helped out of the corpse that they're sitting in right now, because this is just sad. It's just, these guys tried. And just like the Rumble Best of 3 Falls match, these tag teams are trying. But I blame Vince McMahon for this. I blame no one other than Vince McMahon for this, although Triple H has proven that he's got too many single stars to really care about a tag division.
Yeah, and
ruined the drawing capability of tag team wrestling.
The strangest thing, honestly, is people reacted more to the women's tag team match the following night than this one.
Well, the women's tag team matches had more matches on premium live events than the regular tag team titles have.
And it was way shittier.
It was actually, I didn't hate that match either, but we'll get to that in due time. But it's still, at the same point, these guys, they were doing hand-to-hand tags. Mm-hmm. That moonsault was a little sketchy.
Yeah, he slipped a little and nearly killed Kofi Kingston. That was really scary.
Yeah, he didn't, but it got close.
Yeah, Kofi's lucky.
But the New Day just kept getting squished.
Yeah.
And, I liked the New Day's finish when they were cheating, in a variety of ways, and then Kofi held the leg under the ropes. But the crowd did not care.
Yeah.
And it made it really hard for me to care because I wanted to care. But wouldn't that have been nice if Big E came down and did some shenanigans?
I feel like that's what people have been waiting for ever since they turned on Big E. And honestly, after the Rumble, where neither person from the New Day was in the Rumble to get cost by Big E, and the crowd was under the impression, oh, they're just not doing anything with Big E. That's when people really stopped caring about the New Day. Because
they did to get heat, but then there was no way that he were going to get their heat back.
Yeah, essentially, like he was kind of like, it's a microcosm of the problem with The Rock that we'll talk about later.
Yes, we will.
It's the same thing, just a smaller version of that, where the person that this thing was built on wasn't there, and now we just have the remnants of something that was cool a couple months ago.
And it makes you wonder, if they weren't going to do anything with that, why would you even do that and then have Big E just walk away?
Triple H needs to stop, like, one booking issue I've been seeing of his as of late is he'll start something and have no idea where to take it.
It's true. There's a lot of great angles to start things that don't really get an adequate finish.
Yeah, that just kind of exist.
Gable and Otis is a great example of that.
Like, it just exists in the peripheral, the abstract, and, like, can you bring it to the forefront? Why are you pushing it to the background? Wrong way, Triple H. Stop
I almost cared about Otis once.
Yeah, stop talking about how much you're in the Hall of Fame and how much you don't like critics. Put something in the foreground, please.
Well, we did see what was put in the foreground, but we still can't see it.
Yeah.
But I don't really have much else to say about this tag match because they proved that it wasn't worth caring about.
I thought it was fine. It's just, like you've said,
the match was good. The crowd was not.
Yeah, the match was. They tried very hard, and I respect everyone in the match, even though I still don't really care for Xavier Woods that much. Although I like him way more as a heel than an annoying babyface. But the crowd was just dead for this. It was kind of sad.
Yeah, not even Xavier Woods' Final Fantasy hair could help that. But I will say, the next match did surprise me.
Me too.
And I was fascinated by this match being booked on this WrestleMania show. I was fascinated as to what was going to happen.
It's Jade Cargill versus Naomi. And I said in my predictions that this needs to be like a couple minute squash, or this might not be that great. Sometimes I'm wrong, and I'm glad I'm wrong. Because they actually went out there for an actual match, and it was actually good.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Me too. There were some really cool spots in this.
Well, Jade is getting better. Mm-hmm. Naomi is actually lending herself quite well to being a heel. Mm-hmm. The video package definitely made her sound a lot less like Rikishi than she did live.
I'm so happy that I never have to hear "Feel the Glow" again. One of the most cringy catchphrases of all time.
I know. Now she's caution tape Naomi, but her theme slaps though.
It matches what she's doing.
This is one of the first re-images of a theme where I'm like, okay, all right, I see you. This one I could get behind. And she had the Ginyu Force tips, which was kind of cool. She did. And then this cracked me up. They actually got Jim Cantori to do Jade's entrance from the Weather Channel, that crazy-ass tornado dude.
This was so cheesy.
It was so stupid, and I loved it. It was corny in the right way for me. I'm like, you actually got the guy, though. If they had just done this with like a regular schlub or an intern or Brad Maddox, it would have sucked ass. But the fact that they actually paid the money to get the actual Weather Channel guy who does the tornado stuff to do this cheesy ass intro for Jade, they put the work in for it. I gotta give them credit for that.
It was certainly something. But yeah, when this match was over, I messaged the group chat. That was way better than it had any right to be.
Yeah. I also liked, while Jade was coming down to the ring, Wade Barrett sitting there like, but we're indoors, though.
Wade was outstanding on both nights.
And Cole and McAfee were both like, hey, fuck you.
Shut up, British man.
Yeah, literally. Wade was pretty funny, though. He had his moments during this whole weekend.
Oh, he had one of my favorite moments at the beginning of night 2, which we'll get to.
Yeah. And so, without going spot for spot from this match, I love the sell that Naomi had on the barricade. Mm-hmm. And The X Factor on the outside was really nice.
That looked nasty. It was great.
It did. They took their time with this. You know, Jade, you could tell that Naomi was leading it, but Jade is getting better. It's slow, but she's getting better.
It was slow, but the big spots were every bit as impactful as they needed to be.
I mean, the thing is, the match as a whole was a tad clunky, but not devastatingly so.
Yeah, it was like a struggle where you can kind of tell that Jade is trying not to fuck anything up, which for the most part she didn't until the end, which we'll get to. But dude, when she caught Naomi in midair with a jackhammer, that popped me. That was great.
That was crazy.
That was nuts. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I like the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, but the knee gave out because they were selling that a little bit. You know, right before that. But the only thing I didn't love is that Naomi just took too long to set up the stuff up at the top rope for Jade to catch her with the fall-away slam or the... Like, it just took her a long time to get up there and get ready to jump.
And we already saw Jade catch you in midair. We didn't need... Hey, let's do that again, except not as cool.
Well, the difficult thing is that it put Jade in a rough position because Jade is clearly up and she's like trying to sell, but she's not really selling. So she's just waiting there, kind of semi-staggering, so Naomi can just get up and get her thing going. It's like, all right, let's get to the point here.
Yeah.
So, but then we get the bulldog off the top rope, split leg moonsault, 2 count, and that bulldog off the top rope was baller.
Yeah, it was great. It was business.
It looked very good. Actually, so did the split-legged moonsault. This was one of the best Naomi's looked, you know, in a while. And then Naomi hit that Impact submission that I forget what they called on Impact that Cole did not know the name of. But it still looked good.
And then we get to the finish, and I screamed because Jade tries to do the electric chair spin into the powerbomb. Sean, you know how wrestling is predetermined and you're not actually supposed to murder your opponent, right?
Well, she got close. She
powerbombed this woman with one of the most grotesque-looking powerbombs I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Holy paralysis, Batman.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't land on her neck, but it was close.
As Jim Ross would say, folded her up like an accordion.
Yeah.
And then picked her up and then hit her with Jaded. And I'm like, you already killed her with the powerbomb. I don't think the Jaded was necessary. Like, because you could very clearly see after the powerbomb, she leaned over and she was like, "Hey, Naomi, are you still with us? Can I do my finish? Are you alive?
Blink twice if you need help."
Can you feel your toes? Can you feel the glow, Naomi?
Which she did.
There's the glow, Naomi. Don't walk towards it.
But thankfully, there's a storm brewing. If you feel a lightning bolt up and down your spine, let me know. And but anyway, I am very... All in all, this match was quite fun.
Agree. This was so good. Considering who was involved, this was way better. I did not give either of these two enough credit going in.
And you know what's wild? You want to hear one of the wildest stats I heard leading into the weekend?
What is that?
This match is the first time that there has been a women's match that didn't involve a championship of any sort at a WrestleMania ever.
I assume you're discounting like Playboy bunny pillow fights.
Those were all for titles.
Not all of them. There was one where it was just a Play Bunny pillow fight with nothing on the line.
Or a Miss WrestleMania, yeah, but a non-stipulation singles match.
Okay, there we go.
There, but also all of those were stipulation Guga anyway. But this is the first women's singles match that didn't involve a title ever in the history of WrestleMania.
That is pretty crazy.
That is actually crazy. But I will say, for that kind of first ever, these two delivered. These two really delivered, and I'm proud of both of them. Because I'm sure a lot of people expected this to be a stinker of a match.
I was one of them. I was like, this needs to be a squash or it's not going to be great. And I was wrong.
Yeah, this was I said this ought to be interesting, and it sure was interesting. And I was impressed with this. I definitely was. And now let's move on to the United States Championship.
Oh, this match was fun.
It is La Knight versus Jacob Fatu. As this began our look at the cars we have, or the vehicular, and the track record of the vehicles at WrestleMania was very interesting on this evening.
Well, no one got ran over this time.
No, not on this night. No. This was just nice vehicles arriving. It got a little off the rails, almost literally.
When the Steve Austin cosplayer can drive better than the actual Steve Austin.
Yes, as Steve Austin awoke a Karen.
Yeah, and a potential lawsuit. And apparently he accidentally ran over someone in a golf cart backstage. Damn it, Steve.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later on. I hope it was The Rock that he ran over.
Me too, honestly. Instead of I did it for The Rock, I did it for the fans.
Rikishi ran him over, but anyway. But speaking of getting run over, Jacob Fatu and LA Knight, I thought these two had a great match.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really sure where the angle was between these two. Even with the package, I'm like, I don't know if I love this angle that they're doing this with, but I'm not going to complain. It's LA Knight who still gets a pop when the crowd wants to actually wake up.
When the crowd remembers, hey, we're at a wrestling show, and this is on TV, and it's WrestleMania.
Yeah, and Jade and Naomi did very well, despite the crowd really not wanting to react to them. Mm-hmm. But then they eventually did come the end of it. But Vegas was really sitting on their hands for a lot of this.
Mm-hmm. Dude.
And it's not the fault of any of the people in the ring, because I thought the matches themselves delivered.
LA Knight is really good, but man, Jacob Fatu is so damn good.
He's something else, man.
Dude, that was the most perfect Samoan drop that he gave LA Knight in the history of Samoan drops.
Yeah.
Like everyone else should just stop doing them.
Well, and there's a lot of things that Jacob Fatu does incredibly well. I love that belly-to-belly power slam counter that they were doing. You know, LA Knight got a little more desperate with the kicks. I didn't really even write a whole lot on this because I was just enjoying it.
That run up the ropes into the avalanche German was fantastic.
Yeah, that crucifix was nasty.
Yes. It looked like they mistimed it a tad.
I should say.
They mistimed it by just a hair, and it looked especially nasty. But
yeah, so it looked Jacob Fatu almost just crippled himself.
Yeah. But the spot of this match that made me nearly jump out of my chair, he goes for the mighty moonsault, and LA Knight catches him in midair with the BFT. That was okay.
That was really cool.
At first, I thought it was really cool, and it was. It's just when they started showing the replays, they showed a really close angle, and it looked like LA Knight kind of just barely caught him, and they quickly realized and were like, let's show this from a different angle where it looks better. And I was like, okay, that angle looks better, but it was very close, but I'm glad that he got his hand on the bottom rope and didn't just straight up kick out of it.
I mean, let's be real. Is the RKO that Randy gave to Evan Bourne that much different?
It looked way better, but this still looked cool.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of the one with Evan Bourne because he barely got up for it. I don't know. I don't feel like it was that much different.
That is
myself.
my favorite RKO of all time. Good.
Sir. I know. And I know that you're going to hate the fact that I think that that's a really overrated RKO.
Well, you know
of all the ones that Orton has done, that one did not impress me as much as some of the other ones he's done.
Well, you know what? Your favorite is overrated and not that one.
Name an RKO. For $75, name a woman.
Name a woman?
There you go. That's a reference for you kids out there. And then Jacob Fatu wins, and Haku was there, which was really cool.
And that reference went right over my head.
That's right. And not even Jimmy on the street would be able to comprehend it as he's pending the lawsuit. But Haku was there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great because I like Haku. And I don't really have much else to say about this match. It was just a good, solid mid-card match. LA Knight's great. Jacob Fatu's great. Both could be headed to world championship opportunities down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to see when they turn LA Knight heel.
I can't wait till they finally pull the trigger on Jacob Fatu getting away from Solo Sikoa.
That's good, but I want something else for Solo. I want him to be doing something else. I want him to feel important again. They kind of killed him on the first Raw on Netflix.
Yeah.
When Roman Reigns just definitively just beat him.
Especially after he had been definitively beaten several times before that, and that was just the most...
Yeah, it didn't... I feel like that really hurts Solo, and I feel bad for Solo because I don't think he deserved that. I think that Solo had made a lot of progress last year being the phony tribal chief, and they could have gotten a little more mileage out of that. Because Solo, the heels reactions that Solo were getting were not cemented in just him being there every week. Like, he needed to win those matches.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to win those matches, and he didn't win any of the important ones. He won the 6-man tag at Saudi Arabia.
And the 6-man tag at Money... If it's a 6-man tag, he's got it.
He's got it.
Yeah.
That's his bread and butter.
Regular tag matches? No. Singles matches? Absolutely not.
Yeah, and it's just... I feel for Solo because he's somebody I feel like we were talking about starting and stopping. They went a long way with Solo and then just stopped.
Yeah.
Because
it's because they see dollar signs with Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, which I don't disagree with at all. But don't you think that if you were going to get those two away from each other, given the way that Solo lost all his power, that maybe you'd have a match between them here? And then definitively prove, hey, this is the guy we're pushing, and then Solo can go away for a while and then come back in some other capacity. I don't know.
You're not wrong.
That being said, I liked the match. I'm glad that Jacob Fatu is the United States champion. I'm sure he's going to do a lot of good things with it. And LA Knight is actually pretty Teflon, I think, at this point. So we just need to give him something fun to do. The crowd's going to chant with him regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So he's, I'm sure there will be plenty for him to do. I'm guessing he'll be one of those guys that's traded when they do the draft that totally matters. And, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on this matchup?
I really enjoyed it. They worked really well together, and I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch if they decide to do one.
Agreed. I think they had a pretty good chemistry together. And, now... This. I have to say, if this weren't Chad Gable, this could have been a disaster.
I feel like this is where our opinions are going to diverge a bit.
But this is Gable, and this was ridiculous. But I did not hate this match.
The match was fine. I hate the El Grande Americano gimmick so much. Because Chad is good in it. And it is funny. But son of a bitch. Why
just use Chad Gable normally. I know.
That is my entire problem with it. Chad is so good. But they are convinced that he's Santino Marella. They're
convinced he's Owen Hart.
Yes, and it is so infuriating. And he lost so many matches last year, and now the only thing he needed to do to start winning matches and to get a match at WrestleMania was to change his name and put on a mask. Fuck you.
Was be racist.
Was be someone else.
Hey, listen, Chad, we really like you. Can you now be racist? We're going to acquire AAA.
It's fun. From the Gulf of America.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. We got you covered.
I want to like this, but I also my want of them treating Chad Gable seriously is more intense than my want to like this gimmick. Because
I get that.
He is good at it, but damn it, he's because it's like the whole thing with Kurt Angle was because he's basically their Kurt Angle. He could be silly, but he could also be an intense ass kicker, and they were able to bounce between both. But with Chad Gable, it's like 5% of the time he's a serious ass kicker, and 95% of the time, shoosh, thank you, I'm racist, thank you.
Well, at least he doesn't say that anymore. Thank God. Does he? I hope not.
And I just my whole rant about him being like he's their Kurt Angle. It was super. We should have known honestly that they were never going to take him seriously, even back during the previous administration of WrestleMania 38, when the person they wanted to be their Kurt Angle belly to belly suplexed him.
Yeah.
Their opinion of Chad has not changed.
Well, the thing is I think that they're giving stuff that Chad is still having fun doing. Yeah. You know, it doesn't feel like there's misery attached to this. Like, Chad is at least enjoying this.
This is not as bad as Shorty G.
No. This is something that at least Gable is enjoying. You know, because it's this whole crusade against luchadors, which honestly, having a heel like Chad to get all of these luchadors over is probably why they're having him do this. Mm-hmm. Because now that they've acquired AAA, they're going to have to pay more attention to Lucha Libre to some degree. And in that respect, having Gable establish people like Penta and Phoenix, even though they both lost to Gable. Or no, I guess Penta beat Gable, didn't he?
Yeah. They both lost at Mania.
Yes. But but in any case, I think that's why they're trying to use him for this purpose. It's very silly.
Yes.
It's very silly. I will say this. But I will say part of what makes this so funny is the production value behind it. Like, having a mariachi band while the camera's in sepia tone doing a mariachi version of Stars and Stripes Forever is the funniest thing.
It was a pretty funny.
That was so funny. I'm like, that is just hysterically funny. To have this guy come down with mariachi Stars and Stripes Forever.
I will say
the duality of that just was really good.
The one thing about them purchasing AAA that concerns me was actually on our TV while this was going on and helped Rey Fenix up after the match. I still don't like Vikingo because he does flips.
I'm amazed that Vikingo got on TV. I will say that of all the people I expected to show up at WrestleMania, Vikingo was not on the list, and it cracked me up because that did that not feel like yet another middle finger to Tony Khan?
Yes, but you don't have to hire certain people just to get one. Getting one, I have no problem with Triple H teabagging Tony Khan into oblivion for funsies and for the walls. I love that, but not with this particular dildo.
But I love the message. We'll even take your garbage people and make them valuable people.
Hey, what they've done with Rey Fenix and Penta so far, if they can do that with them, then I will wait and see what they do with Vikingo.
Well, Vikingo might just still be in AAA. It's not like AAA's losing their TV time. You know, they're just another subsidiary.
Maybe they'll actually have championships that aren't made of cardboard.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird hearing about all of the lucha, like the AAA credentials that Penta and Phoenix now have. Mm-hmm. As a result, like the fact that they're able to mention all of that, to also making sure that they have a little backup credentials in case Kenny Omega ever decides to jump ship. Mm-hmm.
Please,
which
Kenny.
May or may not be talked about in the near future, but
Please,
that's something else altogether.
Please, Kenny.
I don't have any sources behind that. That is mere conjecture, by the way.
It's his conjecture and me on my knees begging.
Yeah, I have no sources. I have no sources, and he has sore knees.
Yes.
So, but in any case, this match, Donut White was here.
And the crowd booed.
And the crowd booed, and boy, did they have a lot of UFC fucks here.
Yeah.
During both nights, and by the way, while we're talking about things in the crowd, every match during an entrance, let's go to a bunch of dinguses in brand shirts. This match is sponsored by these fucking guys. Hooray for corporate sponsors! Woo!
We now interrupt your wrestling show for 100 commercials in the crowd.
I'm dressed up like an ice cream cone. Look at me. Like, my God. This wasn't carpet bombing the mat with sponsors bad enough.
I actually don't mind the logos all over the mat because
I don't either. I really don't either.
It makes me think of WCW, and UFC's been doing it forever, but them constantly like, and such did this in the crowd, and it got old real quick. Like,
and the Emperor of Saudi Arabia was there too, and he got booed pretty badly.
Yeah.
Or Turkey, or for some, I forget where he was from. Was that Turkey? No, was his name Turkey? Somebody said Turkey.
No, it was Pat McAfee, and when he said that, I was like, oh, Pat.
Yeah, I don't know where it was, but the Emperor of somewhere stand was there.
Somewhere stand.
And Skyler is gonna hate hearing this podcast. He's gonna despise this exact portion of the podcast right here. But that's okay. So did Vegas.
Yeah.
But in any case, there was a great springboard into a Northern Lights.
Mm-hmm.
Then El Grande Gable Cano.
Dude.
A reverse 450.
I screamed.
That was insane.
That was absolutely butt fucking insane. Because
that was maybe the spot of the weekend.
Yes, I was like, oh, he's just doing a moonsault. Oh my God, he's still going. I was like, stop spinning before you die.
And I loved how Wade and Pat and Cole were trying to figure out how many degrees that was.
And trying to figure out what to call it. Oh,
that was
the
wild.
most jaw-dropping holy shit spot of the entire weekend.
Yeah, that was crazy. And this match was actually pretty good. You know, it kept going. And then finally, Phoenix goes to hit a running knee on Gable's metal plate on his head, and Phoenix sold.
And then Chad put the ankle lock on the wrong leg.
Well, but nobody was paying attention enough to care. And that was enough to get it. And yeah, I liked the heat that this got, you know, and it was a great finish to build up what Gable's doing with this thing. You know, say what you want about the gimmick, but this was great to further all of that along.
I thought this was good, but it kind of felt like a TV match. That's one thing about this particular night. It felt like a bunch of good TV matches.
Well, and it's also kind of part of the difficulty of having the main event that you do.
Yeah.
And segmenting this show out the way that you do.
It's always going to make one night feel more important than the other.
It's also disappointing because, like, if you have this much time to make these shows and you have all this time because you took 2 extra weeks to build all these feuds, why does it feel like 3/4 of this was just made the night before?
It might have a lot to do with the fact that The Rock was like, yeah, I'll totally be part of your WrestleMania. Totally. Oh, I'm not winking. I'm not winking uncontrollably. I'll totally be there. Totally. Why am I getting farther away? No one knows. Can you still hear me? Yeah, I'm still coming to Mania.
You just don't worry about me. I'm just going to get in this car that's too fast and furious.
Yeah.
See you later.
I'll send my proxy. Don't worry about it.
Vin Diesel shows up. I am Groot. And I don't think he understood what the through line of that was. But in any case, good for Vin Diesel for being whatever you're doing right now. I don't know what you're doing, but shout out to Vin Diesel. If you're listening to us, then I'm quite surprised.
Vin Diesel should have a tag team with Kevin Nash called Vin and Diesel.
You certainly can. And managed by Raquel Rodriguez. And when we'll get to her, but
yeah, we will.
Speaking of ladies
that I don't want to see anymore,
oh boy,
good lord,
this was my least favorite match of night one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
As much as I hated that finish with Gunther tapping out quick, the match itself was quite good. There were times this match was good.
Brief instances where I was like, they got something here.
But most of this was...
Tiffany Stratton trying to wrestle with a broomstick that hated her.
It's Tiffany Stratton trying to wrestle with a broomstick that keeps changing the position and location of the broom bristles. And...
my handle's here. Now my handle's here. Now my handle looks way different than it did the last couple iterations.
I'm not even sure Charlotte can see out of her eye sockets anymore. Like,
dude,
that's how much that face has been lifted. It's just...
her...
And the first thing I wrote down was, I don't really care about this match.
Well, they haven't given you a reason to care other than them taking weird shots at each other over the past several months.
Other than their actual shoot that they had against each other.
Okay, so this was my skip, not gonna lie. I had it muted and I was with
You were planning this skip from the moment Charlotte won the Rumble.
Fuck her. Because fuck her. And honestly, with this happening the way it did, it was a complete waste of time, in retrospect.
No, I wouldn't blame you for skipping this at all, to tell you the truth.
The only reason why I went back and watched it is because Tiffany won. Because, at the very least, at least Tiffany got this win. And looked like she went through a meat grinder afterwards.
Yes, she did.
Because she got so many fucking potatoes that Charlotte's probably going to start coming out thinking that she's Becky Lynch now. Because she's Irish.
I don't know when that particular shot that busted her face open happened, but...
she had a bruise, her lip was busted, it looked like she chipped a tooth. Jesus. Yeah, I will say, it did look badass on her. It did make her look badass. But, I went back and watched this specifically because Tiffany won. My God, this match was a sloppy Joe. And Tiffany was trying. And it was a different kind of trying from Charlotte. Tiffany was trying to save it, and Charlotte was trying to ruin it.
Well, and I do think that to some degree, like, there's something to be said about a match being stiff and having potatoes and it being and looking like a struggle. Mm-hmm. But it shouldn't look like a struggle to cooperate. I mean, it shouldn't look like a cooperation at all, but like, at the same point, it looked like they were struggling to cooperate with each other. It was Charlotte.
They
kept saying that she didn't have any ring rust. Yeah, she did.
Charlotte's in-ring has been largely atrocious ever since she lost to Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 39. That was the last good match she's had. Every other match she's had after that has been straight up ass.
Well, and I like that they got the Mattel to okay the Barbie box for Tiffany Stratton.
That was pretty cool.
Charlotte looked like, you will not get this reference, but for the Final Fantasy X-2 folks out there, Charlotte looks like she stole Yuna's flower super dress sphere, which you can look up on the internet, kids, if you want to know what I'm talking about. We get a back suplex on the barricade. Then Charlotte attempts a neck breaker, I think.
Okay. This kneeling neck breaker that she loves there are moves that Charlotte just loves that have never looked good and will never look good. That neck breaker is one of them. That Irish curse backbreaker sort of is another one of them. There are some moves that she just loves that never look good. It's just now that she kind of sucks in the ring now, they look worse.
Well, and thankfully now that her knee is shredded, she can't do the moonsault anymore.
think. Well, she never could do the moonsault, and that was the problem.
Well, I know, but I was saying, speaking of moves that she does all the time that never land.
Except that one time where she nearly killed, what was it? Who was it that she nearly crushed? Was it Io Sky?
Io Sky with her foot.
Yeah.
And, well, and then we get a sit-out powerbomb that was like, okay. We get a second spine buster. This has been clunky, I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffy's got juice. Once Charlotte started selling the knee, this got a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd started getting into it a little bit more. The PME got the knees up after the figure 4, which was nice. Then, good Lord.
The second I saw this, I was like, oh, Sean is going to hate this.
Now, this match, there was a matchup that Trish Stratus beat the shit out of a young lady named Jackie Gata.
Yep.
For having it looked not too dissimilar to this.
Yeah.
This is from a allegedly 14-time champion. Thankfully, she didn't win with it, and I am very grateful for that. But, you know, it's sad how often that they've used that natural selection to have her win matches, and I thought they might rely on it because her knee is so messed up, too.
Yeah.
Like, because she doesn't have the moonsault now, and like...
She completely missed her except for her hair, kind of, question mark?
Yeah.
It looked bad.
It was bad, and it was getting worse, and then it ended mercifully.
Yeah. Especially, literally, one thing that looked almost as bad, every time Tiffany Stratton tried the Finlay rolling senton, my God, she got closer to the ground every time she did it, because Charlotte was not helping at all.
No.
Sandbag City.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And then a PME wins it, and the crowd is finally awake.
The crowd collectively was like, thank God.
Yeah, that's literally like, people did not want Charlotte to win that belt at all. But Tiffany looked badass at the end of this match. I'll give them credit for that. If this was to get Tiffany over like this, then mission accomplished. But I get the feeling that it was just Charlotte being a bitch.
On that note, Charlotte, can you just fuck off? Like, seriously.
Forever.
Can you go away and never come back? Like, there are so many...
Come back for your Hall of Fame induction,
yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah, and we're not going to watch it. And you'll probably get booed, and you'll cry about it. And your face will look completely different once again. But I so bad... Like, there's so many people after this WrestleMania that I never want to see again. I don't ever want to see Charlotte again. I don't ever want to see Travis Scott again. I don't ever want to see The Rock again. But Charlotte, a message from wrestling fans in general, go away. We don't like you. Your matches are terrible. You are shoved down our throats constantly. You are the same exact person, the same exact gimmick that you've been for over a decade at this point. Stop it.
Just different faces.
Yeah. Get some help.
She's cosmetically changing gimmicks, but she's not changing actual gimmicks. And
this was rough.
Yeah, but the right person won this at least. Tiffany is going to gain some momentum off this at least.
Yeah.
And, you know, but when it came to the quality of match compared to the rest of both nights, this was one of the weakest matches on the weekend.
Mm-hmm. And again, Tiffany tried really hard. She tried. This was all Charlotte.
This was namely Charlotte that was the problem here, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
As, you know, Tiffany, I can't believe I miss Nia Jax.
What world have we evolved into? What alternate reality have we fallen into?
Seriously.
When we're like, Nia Jax, save me.
Yeah, where is her hole?
Well, this is the part where Skyler's gonna be like, okay, next match, moving on.
All right, moving on, next match, moving on, yes.
We'll be searching for that hole for a while.
Nope. Anyway, now we move on to the Paul Heyman custody battle.
Paul Heyman on a pole ladder match.
This is a Paul Heyman.
Okay.
We get into this matchup here. Boo, Skyler would say.
Applause from me.
And I will say I must say that I am sad that Skyler's not here, because you know what he would tell me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is his bit, but in his absence, I guess I will have to say it. On this edition of What the Fuck is Seth Rollins Wearing?
At this point, before he came out, I was like, all right, Mom, Andy, I want you to tell me what you think of what Seth Rollins is wearing. And they were like, you're the person who says that he comes out wearing weird stuff, right? And I was like, oh, you have no idea. And then he walked out, and Mom said he looked like a Velcro trash bag.
Yeah, I said a hefty garbage bag is what I had. I had a hefty garbage bag is what I said. But, well, the thing was, earlier in the night, Seth Rollins had a robe that looked like it was made out of a bunch of Valentine's Day teddy bears. And it was just like, it was just this weird red tatter. I'm like, what is that? But he takes off his garbage bag after wielding that gigantic flamethrower, which was also a middle finger to Tony Khan. Mm-hmm. We will make everything that you have cool. But Seth gets this big ass flamethrower, and then he gets this adorned in all white. And I must say, the jacket was on point. Mm-hmm. I did like the way that Seth looked after he took the garbage bag off.
After he took his sauna suit off.
Yes.
It's like when Christian was trying to lose some weight so he could compete for the what was it, the lightweight championship all those years ago?
That's right. Or when Matt Hardy was trying to compete for the cruiserweight belt and he just kept taking off more and more clothing.
Yeah, Sethitude 1.0.
Yes. That's the way it is.
I want to go back even before Seth's entrance. The video package for this match was immaculate. Great. It was perfection. And really while I loved it, it also made me sad because I'm like, what is something that I always whine and complain about, Sean?
Braun Strowman.
Besides that. Which
one? There's a lot of them.
Which genre of music works really well with wrestling?
I believe that you love Irish folk tunes.
Besides that,
and everyone should have Irish folk tunes.
Metal and rock work so well with wrestling. And
yes.
And I actually went and I listened to this song, and it's on my YouTube playlist now. It was Sail Into the Black by Machine Head, a band I've never heard of before, but I'm interested in listening to more of their stuff. And we go from that to the theme of the show, which is Fiend. Fiend. Fiend, Fiend, Fiend.
Well, you gotta cater to the basic bitches, JoshAgeddon. It can't just be for wrestling fans.
I miss the days where the theme of WrestleMania was from Limp Bizkit. I long for those days.
You want a little puddle of mud action?
Yes, I would prefer that. Wait, the theme of SmackDown used to be from my boy Marilyn Manson. I'm sorry.
How about Drowning Pool?
Wrestling and metal fit like a glove. It's perfect for wrestling. Pop and like this hip hop, this modern pop goo-ga, it just does not work. I don't care that this is like supposed to be like the casino like thing because it's Las Vegas. I mean, last year they had for the past they keep bragging about how The Weeknd has done the theme song for WrestleMania for the past 85 WrestleManias. That's not a good thing. You're telling me that the theme song for the biggest show of the year has been shit 6 years in a row. And what makes it even worse...
the main event had the artist of that song in it.
And the main event sucked. And the main event sucked. Well, thank you for helping me prove my own point, Sean. I love having you on the show. And to make it even worse, the previous pay-per-view, The theme song was done by Poppy, and that was great. And even during the promotion of that show, they would promote WrestleMania and Fing. I'm so fucking angry. I'm sure you haven't noticed.
This is what you can expect when, I mean, that song was really annoying.
It is so bad.
It was very annoying. I don't see how that got to the top of any Billboard chart. But
because people's music taste has never been worse than it is today.
But then we get the CM Punk package.
This was also phenomenal.
I'm so happy for CM Punk, man.
Me too.
Not only was this a main event at WrestleMania, but this main event at WrestleMania was basically all about him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was perfect. They had the kill switch engage. This fire burns to go through his entire career to build up to this point.
When that song started playing, I had the biggest grin on my face.
I was pumped. Yeah, that was a big moment for sure.
Yeah.
I was really happy with that. And he comes out and there's In Living Color.
Mm-hmm.
In Living Color.
Mm-hmm.
And
of the two bands that played people out to the ring on WrestleMania, this was the much better one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Damien. We'll talk about your boy in a second.
Yeah. We'll get to you. All fries for the Judgment Day. That's still open, ladies and gentlemen. We can do it. It could still happen.
Burger after
Especially
burger.
because who the hell knows what Damian Priest is going to be doing now. But in any case, Two Guys Burgers and Fries is still on the table.
Mm-hmm.
But we get this. And by the way, for those of you who didn't know what Paul Heyman custody battle meant for some reason, it's Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus CM Punk in the main event of night one.
Mm-hmm.
And we get through this, and then it starts deteriorating pretty fast. But, man, this match was fun.
This was my favorite match of the entire weekend.
It was very fun.
Mm-hmm.
We got a great Triple H stare spot. We got a trash can shot that nearly concussed me watching it.
Yep.
That was, dear God, did the sting on that. The Roman Reigns splash as Punk and Rollins were getting back to ringside was really cool.
That was nuts. And the theme of this show, accidentally running into fans.
Yeah.
Because he clipped a few pedestrians with that dive.
Well, and it's not like WWE doesn't have the money for compensation.
There's going to be so many lawsuits after the show.
I know. That's okay. They know how to sell.
And they don't have CIW's gimmick of some weird space anomaly absorbing or sucking away the fans, threatening lawsuits.
That's right. That's right.
Steal that idea, Triple H.
And you know what's yeah. So, but then we get this great neckbreaker DDT, and then we get a Doomsday device.
Yep. And Seth bumped like mad for it.
What I was starting to say was, you could tell the quality of wrestler is so much different in this match compared to everyone else, just by how amplified all the punches were.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was just, their strike level was terrific. They did the spear degree spot that they do in every match they have ever.
This one looked, honestly, this was the best it has looked.
It looked good.
Yeah.
It looked good. And the stomp got a 2 count. Punk got a little juice on the mouth. Heyman looked torn or constipated. They get a shield, but Seth is trying to encourage Roman to use the shield bomb. He goes, get him up, and then he goes, no, I'll just do it myself.
Dude.
And then, you want to talk about stealing CIW gimmicks. I'm pretty sure I just had somebody go through 2 tables. So Roman Reigns decides he's going to put 2 men through 2 tables.
Dude, these tables did not want to break.
No, they didn't.
These bumps.
But breaks they did.
These bumps looked so painful.
Yeah, they were pretty rough. But it all looked terrific. Still, I mean, the pain looked terrific, and I'm sure it was painful too. Then we get a spear for a 2 count that goes. And at this point, these guys are just running, and the crowd is finally invested in something.
Yeah, finally the crowd is like, the crowd was kind of like, finally, we're at what we came to see. And I'm like, but you had the whole rest of the show. Whatever, fine.
Yeah, what rest of the show? We get a Seth sharpshooter with Punk bleeding, which I thought was a nice little homage to Brett and Austin, who got inducted over the weekend. So I don't know whether that was intentional, especially with Punk bleeding from the mouth, but I thought that was a nice little touch. I love how distraught Heyman looked.
Yeah.
Throughout all of this.
There was a video on X that I saw that was like fan footage of him just depressed walking around with SpongeBob music. And you know that?
Yeah.
It was so funny.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And then we get this great GTS into a spear, into a stomp.
And we get a triple down.
And Heyman gets the chair. And at this point, I knew what they were doing.
I kind of had a suspicion, but at this point, me, my mom, and Andy, we were glued to the TV.
Now, the reason I say I knew what they were doing is that I heard a lot of people on the internet talk about what the outcome of this was. Prior to this happening, I heard a lot of marks calling for this to happen exactly.
Myself
but when
included.
But when it was Seth just sitting in the corner, laying around, as Heyman is choosing between the two, I'm like, nah, this ain't gonna be between these two. So Heyman goes to decide, do I, red pill or blue pill? And I only say red pill because of Roman Reigns' red undies.
He chose the Tyler Black pill.
Yes, that's the biggest black pill of all.
Yes.
As he tosses the chair to Punk, and then he crotches Punk with one of the weirdest, weakest looking low blows I've ever seen.
And then,
but Heyman has never been known for his physical work.
But then he was like, hey, remember that dude breaking up the Shield? Do that. Yeah, his low blow on CM Punk was pretty weak. This low blow on Roman, though... Dude was trying to give Roman a prostate exam.
Yeah. Well, and I love when he hit Punk. He's like, I'm sorry. He's my tribal chief. Nothing I can do.
What do you want me to do about it?
And, and then crotched Roman Reigns and chose Seth after all. And Seth gets his stomp, and that's that. After yet another Shield homage. And Seth wins. He leaves with Paul, and that's the end of the show. And I will say this. We said it at, I think it was in one of the podcasts we did recently about the state of wrestling. I just don't know where they're going to go with this because Seth doesn't need Paul.
I agree, but we'll see. We'll see.
It's a new direction for them.
Yeah.
And it's something different that I think Paul needs something different as well. He lends himself more to being a heel manager than kind of sitting with either of the baby faces of Punk and Rollins, or Punk and Reigns, rather.
And Seth hasn't been a full-blown heel in a while.
Yeah, so I'm sure this is going to lead to something very interesting and good down the line that is going to ultimately lead to some level of big match between probably Roman and Seth, because I think they're probably done with Punk and Seth for the time being. Because I think that slowly but surely Punk is going to make his way to John Cena.
Yeah.
But that's just speculation at this point. But all in all, it was a good triple threat match.
I loved it. It was my favorite match of the entire weekend.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. It was definitely my favorite match of night one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that's not to take anything away from a lot of other matches on night one that were better than they had any right to be. You know, this show had a lot of matches that the crowd didn't love, but actually over-delivered for what they were bringing to the table. So let's hear at the halfway point, give our records for WrestleMania Night 1, which Skyler thankfully has already submitted, at least in the chat, that he gave this I believe, a 7 for this night. So why don't we go with the ratings for Night 1? Let's start with me, because we'll finish off with you at WrestleMania Night 2.
Yeah, you got to continue stealing the New Day's gimmick of being Mr. Positivity.
That's right. Well, I actually just agree with Skyler on that. This was a good Night 1. It wasn't great. I enjoyed the show overall. I didn't really have a ton to complain about. I had some things to complain about, but I didn't have a ton to complain about. It was just, 'twas a fine show. You know, that's about as much as I could say about it. There really wasn't much to write home about for WrestleMania, but all in all, some of the matches that you thought wouldn't deliver did deliver, and I gave it a 7 as well. I thought it was fine. Okay. It was fine.
Me personally, I also thought it was fine, but for WrestleMania, that kind of irks me a teeny bit. Nothing really felt like WrestleMania until we got to the main event. Some of the finishes were a little suspect, and Charlotte Flair sucks, and I wish she would go away. But the main event really saved it. Honestly, I was thinking this show was kind of like a 5 out of 10 for up until we got to the main event. The main event helped a lot. So I'm not going to go quite as high as a 7, but I will give this show, Night 1, a solid 6 out of 10.
And for the Triple H scale, that's not the worst thing in the world either. Because remember, we were giving these shows 3s and 2s.
And 0s.
And 0s. Back at the Vince era. So, you know.
No matter what our complaints are on this show, by the way, nothing on either night was anywhere near as dog water as the entirety of WrestleMania 38. So that was
perspective goes a long way when it comes to grading a show like this.
Yeah, I will take WrestleMania 41, the entire thing, like 100 times in a row over one more viewing experience of 38.
Yes. And now that we've wrapped up Night 1, and Skyler gave it a 7. Now, for the fans of the Totally Awesome podcast who have not experienced any interruptions at all, theoretically, we are going to, here on the CMP, take our first commercial break. And when we come back, we are going to start up WrestleMania Sunday, the second half of our podcast. So stay tuned for all of the exciting action in a different video than this one. But rest assured, you are going to get the rest of it. WrestleMania Saturday, thank you all for coming. We'll be right back right after this.
Listeners of the Totally Awesome podcast, this is what a transition sounds like.
That's right. It's the same way you make a hormone.
All right.
That's exclusive for you, TAP people. Also known as TA people.
Also known as TAPP.
That's
we know where our PP is.
We know what our PP is.
Stop. This bit sucks.
I'm gonna need to call Dr. Wang. That's right. Have him give me some cream. Anyway. So, how y'all hanging out, TAP?
That was a disaster. That was a disaster.
There's no such thing as a disaster on this show. For all the things we've said, you know, we're basically Teflon at this point. Come at us.
Dude, my channel is a disaster. What are you talking about?
That's right. It's a disaster that gets advertising.
Yeah, so, you're damn right. If I remember, I'm gonna put an ad right here.
Yeah, go ahead. And while you're putting on that ad, let's start the second half of this in 5, 4, 3, 2. And welcome once again to another edition of the Court Martial Podcast. If you're a part of the Totally Awesome Podcast, you're already here. You're still here. But if you're coming to WrestleMania Sunday 41, the review, that's all in the right, all the words are there. Just put it in the right order. I am your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty, here to break down all of the exciting action of WrestleMania Sunday. We've already talked about the day before, but we wanted to break this up into 2 nights, 2 podcasts, because there is a lot to talk about for 2 days worth of WrestleMania. And boy, was it a WrestleMania of all time. And to join me is one of the commentators of all time, and definitely the best proprietor of Totally Awesome Wrestling there is, because he's the only one that there is, JoshAgeddon. How you doing, buddy?
I still miss Skyler.
He didn't send any notes.
I need my stats.
I know.
I need them stat.
I'm the stat man. Anyway, that needs to be Skyler's theme song. He comes in with stats and he just to the scat man.
That's better than the joke I was gonna go with. I was gonna say he has a stat fetish.
Well, that he might have. But unfortunately, he was not able to put it into his grammatically emphasized and articulate notes for this time around. But Skyler definitely has a lot of good things to say about The Rock, especially that he was right about it. Oh, speaking of the devil, and here he is. And let's see if Skyler did a thing. No notes. He said no notes. So now we have confirmation that Skyler will not be bringing notes. He will just be bringing one gigantic sad face.
Yeah, his thoughts on WrestleMania. 2 words. No notes.
No notes.
Wow. He must have known we were talking about his
lawyer must have gotten to him before we did, and said he is legally not allowed to comment. But in any case, let's talk about WrestleMania Sunday.
That is the most.
All in all,
that was the most hilariously disappointing message I've ever read.
Yes, you could feel the sadness in his text.
Yes.
But there is sadness in the air when it comes to WrestleMania Sunday. So let's talk about WrestleMania Sunday. Your thoughts overall on the show, JoshAgeddon.
Well, first off, I'm not going to call it WrestleMania Sunday because I'm not a loser. It's night 2, damn it. Fuck your branding. This...
What did she do?
You know what she did with her placenta. We all saw it.
She was here at this show.
I would have rather her placenta than Travis Scott.
Sir, would you like some water? Are you having a stroke?
That's what the main event of this show did to me. It gave me a stroke. It was not a stroke of genius.
Slap Nuts is happy to hear you say that.
Stop it. This was a good show, and I fucking hated the main event. I hear a lot of people saying that. I already discussed this at the beginning of this podcast. For the CMP listeners out there, the previous podcast. It's a podcast within a podcast. Podcastception Womp. Night 1 felt like a B show that was saved by the main event. This felt like an A show with a C- show, stupid what the hell am I watching main event that almost killed the entire thing for me. Up and down, I thought this was way better than Night 1, and then that happened.
Oh, I agree with you that this was by and large better than Night 1 by a country mile, really.
Just the feeling in the air was better, because the crowd was actually awake.
And definitely the crowd was much more vibrant for WrestleMania Sunday on this premium live event.
Pushing my button, Sean.
As I am working on the buttons to push. The time for talking is over. Now is the time to press buttons. Anyway, Sonic
Dude,
jokes
the only
aside,
thing that would have saved the main event is if The Rock flew by the arena in a hovercraft saying, "Don't get excited, Cody. That was the easy one."
Welcome to Las Vegas, Cody Rhodes. I hope you're enjoying the clam chowder.
The Rock telling Triple H, Who's in charge? Me. I'm in charge. Me. Nobody cares, Triple H. Nobody
Brandy,
cares.
He goes, and speaking of flames, I see you've taken a lover.
That's how you have your job.
But you know what? He probably didn't know Brandy was there because he wasn't fucking there.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about at the end of this. And there's going to be a sweet, cathartic promo cut on The Rock later on in this show where Skyler gets to bask in the glory of him being right about The Rock all along.
Yeah.
As we are going to get to that. But let's start off. The thing I liked about these two nights is that there was a lot of structural unity. The shows were bookended by a World Championship match with a questionable-ass finish.
Yep. Yep.
And the other shows, the other ends of the shows, meaning the end of night 1 and the beginning of night 2, were bookended with 2 really good triple threat matches.
Oh, yeah.
So there were some continuity throughout this show.
Yeah.
That I did enjoy.
This was such a strange WrestleMania.
Yeah. It really was. It really was. But we get Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Bianca Belair.
Everyone's favorite person. Everyone's favorite person all of a sudden for some reason, Bianca Belair. The 2025 has not been kind to Bianca.
Well, I think they really assumed that she was going to turn heel during that Jade and Naomi match that she didn't get involved with at all. So now they're like, no, fuck you. We don't want you to win this title at all. If you're not going to turn heel, we will make you turn heel.
I think that she's just been female John Cena for too long.
Yeah. And, you know, she came out with the double Dutch, which was kind of cool. But Bianca killed so many roses for that jacket, though.
I was like, don't land on any of the roses in the ring. You'll get thorns.
Rose and Bret Michaels suddenly looked up and excited, and
John Moxley perked up, saying, "Someone's gonna get impaled in the middle of the ring."
No, you had me at pale. And,
no, he's wrestling in the main event.
That's right. So is Moxley.
Why are they both named John?
And they're both named John, and they both choke people out. Thankfully, John didn't on this night. But
they both end their shows in questionable finishes.
And what is happening to our wrestling show? We got pale Johns who choke people.
And an Austrian who doesn't like it.
Yeah. Well, then out comes Rhea Ripley looking like the mouth of Sauron.
Yes, she did.
Which is a reference for you kiddos out there.
Oh, yeah. And a reference I actually got. What am I won for on references that I understood on this night?
Yes. Well, you got all the Sonic references too, so that counts. But God, I love Rhea Ripley. Every time I see her, it's like she is such a star.
Mm-hmm. She is.
She looks like $1 million. She's one of the best wrestlers in the world, male or female. And you know, she's just tremendous.
All three of them, even though I did just have that slight criticism of Bianca, all three of them were incredible in this match.
Yes. And I have to say, I have never been happier for Io Sky basically giving a giant middle finger to Jim Cornette.
Yep.
Than I did. And Kevin Nash and all these other old guys who were like, she ain't worth shit. She got a fucking pop and a half.
If you don't think Io Sky works, then that's just a you problem.
Well, you're not listening to the fans.
Mm-hmm. Or the watching.
Fans are behind her.
Or watching.
You know, that's the, you know, say what you want about Io's mic skills. That is proven her to be irrelevant to her success.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she's really found a way, especially as this started going like, no, fuck you guys. I am not going to be the afterthought in this matchup.
And the crowd popped for it. The crowd popped for everything she did in this match.
Yeah, for sure. And now that being said, Alicia Taylor needs a hairstylist not named Dr. Frankenstein.
This is when she stuttered and said that Bianca was from Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I laughed my ass
off. was doing her thing. And you know what? I will say this. She leaned into the booze a little bit. Because there really isn't a definitive heel in this matchup. So Bianca knew that she kind of had to just lean into the fact that she was getting booed.
I will say this night and this match started the trend of what I will be referring to as Kip Up a Mania.
Oh my God.
There were so many Kip Ups on night 2.
Every match. It was ridiculous how many they
like
by
the time we were halfway through the show, I was like, okay, we get it already. You can nip up. Stop doing it.
Well, and speaking of things people should stop doing, do 10 punches, do a backflip, and then put 2 people in the corner and do the punches again. Stop. Stop this spot. It was dumb when 4 people did it and sold in a heap at the Rumble. It's dumb assuming that you can punch 2 women at the same time in the corner with 1 fist to where they would be both selling concurrently with each other.
Yeah.
To do that. Stop this.
It looks very goofy.
Stop it. It's a silly spot. And Larry's not even here, where Larry comes out and does a silly spot. And that's the reference.
That is a deep cut, ladies and gentlemen.
Where the fuck is Bianca's hairbrush? And in any case, we get a good Asai moonsault. This is where I wrote down, this is good but formulaic. They would pick this up. They would do some things, but at the beginning, it really felt like another triple threat match.
Yeah, which
it got better.
Fortunately for me, I like triple threat matches because I guess between the triple threat that is me, you, and Skyler, I'm the odd man out.
Yeah, even though I book a shit ton of them on my own.
Yes, you do. Program. Yes, you do.
Like, I bitch about them watching them, but it is like one of the best tools I have when I'm like, I don't know what to do with 3 people.
In all honesty, the multi-man matches at WrestleMania kind of carried the show. Somewhat. I think that there was some of them that were good, but there were some good singles matches in between. Yeah.
But we get a razor's edge by Rhea into Bianca with Io, which was pretty good. We get a nice double back suplex Tower of Doom, which was different. Vegas was hot for Io.
Oh, yeah.
And they just were booing the hell out of Bianca.
So is the rest of the planet.
And then Bianca gets a 450, which Michael Cole expertly shouts out, "Shooting star!"
This is when Wade Barrett had my favorite commentary moment of the night. You could just feel him rolling his eyes and saying, He's
like, "That's okay, Cole. It's a 450. I know what you meant.
It's a 450, Cole. Captain of Weenie Shire, you."
It's like that meme of the girl helping the grandma back into bed.
Yeah. One of these days, I want Cole to just call too many wrong moves and Wade Barrett to just bullhammer him on commentary.
It's okay, Cole. Take your meds.
Sit down, Cole.
Back to bed.
Think about Valhalla's horns.
See, that's whereas JR is just sad and grumpy, like, I don't give a fuck, JR, like the way he is on Dark Side of the Ring, where his soul is crushed. He's like, oh, fuck all you people. No. Cole's going to be like doing extremely excited screams in his late 80s at the nursing home.
And have no idea where he is or what he's doing or what's
just
going on.
All of a sudden it would be like, manhandle slam! It's all right, Cole, sit down.
Like, I'm the man around here. Sit down, Cole. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, Cole. It's okay, Cole. Big goes up in like 3 hours.
It'll be okay, Michael. Michael calling a nursing home is the funniest gimmick ever.
Randomly calling out spots.
Get away from me, Heidenreich.
That's right. Oh my god. Oh, that's funny. I love the boots up sell that by Io when she went for something on the top and Rhea just got her legs up and Io just like face first just ricocheted back.
Dude.
And then right into the KOD with the two count.
That was such a close near fall.
Yeah.
That was so perfectly timed. And also, Io is so good. All 3 of them are really good at taking those, like, bouncing off my neck bumps.
Yeah.
Which you probably shouldn't do that much, but still, if you're gonna do it, do it at WrestleMania.
Like the over-the-top rope Poison Rana that was countered into the reverse Alabama slam on the post.
That was so insane.
That was ridiculous.
When she started going for the Poison Rana, I was like, oh, be careful. And then Rhea stuffed it, and I was like, oh, is she gonna reverse Alabama slam her into the post? And she did, and like my jaw was on the floor.
That was insane.
Yes.
And then we get the big hair slap, and it was a big hair slap.
Mm-hmm. Then we got the Armageddon 2008 finish.
Yeah, but I didn't mind it honestly because we got the KOD, and the 2 count was countered by a moonsault that Io did and pinned Bianca with it, and it looked great. And Io deserved the pop that she got.
Yep.
And I was happy to retain the belt. And you know, Jim Cornette can suck this one because I love Jim dearly, but he is wrong about Io Sky.
Mm-hmm.
She's got it. She's got it, and she's got a lot of momentum right now. And you know, I don't know how long it's gonna last, but at least she deserves the moment she's been getting it.
This was a fantastic opener, and my second favorite night of the entire week. My second favorite match of the entire weekend.
Yes, this is my second favorite night of the 2.
Yes, yes.
But it was a great match. I really enjoyed it. And what did Skyler have to say? No notes.
Oh.
Sad. But and I would cry about it, but we've got a lot of show to cover. And,
okay, well, wipe my tears real quick.
We will shed tears another day. But we will have Skyler back to talk about. We are going to do in the next week or so. I'd like to do a kind of a catch up on what Skyler normally talks about, which is the Raw after WrestleMania. I want to talk about the acquisition of AAA. So we're gonna hear from Skyler soon enough, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and
at the Court Martial podcast
and his more abridged thoughts on WrestleMania 41 as a whole.
Yes. There's that. Like I said at the beginning of the first podcast, there's not a bridge that Skyler won't travel to get you the latest news and action and jeering at my bad jokes. It's all coming back and live and in living color, but not performing as a live band.
Speaking of
live bands,
first off, I have no idea what this weird, almost Power Ranger kind of thing Drew McIntyre was wearing. It looked strange, but also very edgy, so I liked it, kind of.
I didn't mind what Drew was wearing, but I don't quite understand the Power Rangers mannequin with the shield.
I said, why does Drew have a mountain with a Power Ranger helmet on it?
Drew was like, I'm better than the SPD Rangers? ?
Stop stealing CIW things, WWE.
But if the message was that Drew McIntyre could beat the Rangers, I'm like, that's not even really faint praise. I don't know if that's the message Drew was trying to send, but in any case, I love Drew being a badass no matter what he's doing. It doesn't matter to me.
But then the guitarist from Slayer was out there doing something with his guitar. Something was not plugged in correctly, and we were just getting weird feedback noises. You ever gotten a weird feedback echo guitar solo before?
I feel like part of that was intentional, but I do like right at the beginning, you could hear somebody say, I don't have my mic. And I don't know what happened and where that came from and who said it. But this was, I don't know, and then Pat McAfee started talking about Doom and Doom Slayer and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, Pat? I didn't know a word of what he was saying. Turned out to be a sponsor thing. What a surprise.
What a shock. At Commercial Mania.
And, say what you want about the Slayer guy, but I still love Priest coming out and having the camera be out of focus and slowly shift into focus as Priest starts getting closer to the ring.
Yeah, he does have a really cool entrance.
He is a great entrance. It's just he doesn't have any identity beyond I left the Judgment Day.
Besides, I left the Judgment Day and I am a bisexual Undertaker.
And it didn't... I felt like Damian Priest kind of needed to win this match in order to make people feel anything towards him as something of importance for a while.
Honestly, they both needed to win this matchup because Drew has lost so many matches and Damian is struggling to get up the card back to where he was last year.
Yeah.
So you can make the argument that both of them needed to win this match, but I personally think that Drew needed it more.
Well, and I'm not upset that Drew won this match. It's just that it was... I understand, honestly, with the way that they laid out the story, I like the build-up to this.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea behind this matchup. And it's just... I don't know. They did a jump start. We got furniture. Drew did an over-the-top rope senton that was cool.
And then we had a callback to last year with his quote-unquote brother. Drew McIntyre is one of the funniest dudes on the roster.
Yeah, where he did the selfie.
Yeah, and it was on X, and bored at work again. Still bored at work.
Still bored at work.
Drew is so funny.
And then we get down here, and I really kind of abridged these notes, which was we get a Claymore, then a very scary chair throw.
Even Drew was like, "Whew." He had a look on his face like, And
then just re-Claymored him.
He had a look on his face like, well, that scared me. Claymore!
Okay.
Claymore! And it got him in the chest, so I'm kind of okay with Damian kicking out of this one because it wasn't an especially powerful Claymore.
Yeah. Well, and so they go through this. There's a great razor's edge through the table, so they got that insatiable bloodlust out of the fans' minds.
Yeah.
Which I'm thankful for. Then we get the Future Shock DDT on the stairs, which was gnarly.
And Damian did the seizure cell for.
But then we get to the spot that I actually loved the most, which was Damian goes for it, remember, on Bisexual Undertaker, and tries to go for the old school.
Yeah, and it bit him in the ass.
And Priest said, no, you die now. And just shoved him off of the ropes into two tables.
Yeah.
And I love how, by the way, just for what it's worth, I love it when Drew pulled out those tables, it looked like he accidentally got two out. He's like, okay, fine, I'll set two up then.
Yeah. But
naturally, I was on purpose. It was just funny that he grabbed two. Was like, all right, fine.
But this finish, dude.
This reminded me of that match that Willie Mack had with Brian Cage at Lucha Underground. When Brian Cage put Willie Mack's head through a cinder block. And you were just like, okay. He's dead. That's it.
So
that is indeed it.
He had a chair propped up in the corner, and Damian was kind of hunched over trying to get back in the ring. And Drew McIntyre Claymore kicks Damian's head into the chair, and it made this disgustingly just thud sound. And he killed him. He is dead. And then
that was it.
Him. That was a finish. That was a finish and a half.
As Damian Priest's brains were being scraped off of the chair with a spatula.
Yeah, and Damian, the way Damian was selling after the match, where he was saying he couldn't breathe, was wonderful.
Well, yeah. Oh, he was coughing after the table spot.
Yeah, he's a very underrated seller.
He is. And it was a great... Honestly, this match was good. I enjoyed this.
Me too.
And, and I'm happy that Drew won, but, God, what do you do with Damian Priest now?
I have no idea.
Well, I'll tell you something, man. I don't know what Sheamus is doing right now. But the offer is on the table, but I want at least to be given some Five Guys.
If Sheamus walks into frame with a thing of French fries, and Damian Priest is also in the frame. I expect you to call your lawyer, Sean.
Yeah, the lawyer I totally have.
Yes.
Yes, and well, yeah. Sheamus just walks up and just quietly puts like a pinstriped little burger hat and puts it on the Damian Priest and puts one on himself, and then they just kind of stand there, spatulas in hand, and then they play that Tiny Tim song that they do at the beginning of SpongeBob when they're feeding all the fucking anchovies.
Oh my god.
That'll be their theme as they walk down to the ring.
Oh Lord.
Yes, I trust me. We have the gimmicks that people are going to want to watch. And speaking of things people didn't want to watch, Tony Hinchcliffe got booed out of that building.
But I will give him credit. He ate it up and was just giving it back to the crowd, and then the camera stayed on him for an extra 15 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And even he was like, "Okay, you can cut now. Okay, you can cut now. You can cut now."
And first, I mean, he knows his shit when it comes to wrestling. So he obviously knew. Second he got booed, he's like, all right, cool, I can work with that too. So now we got a 4-way.
The thing you at first didn't want to watch.
Yeah, and I ended up not skipping anything of these 14 matches. I decided I was going to watch through all of it. Although, I must admit, I would not have hated if I had skipped Charlotte versus Tiffy.
Yeah.
I would not. If there was any one match to skip over, that probably would have been it.
Yeah.
Dude wipes.
They made so many poop jokes.
Dude wipes.
My least favorite thing about Dude Wipes is it's the font of Dune. And the first WrestleMania where they promoted Dude Wipes, I thought it was a Dune promo. Because it's the exact same font.
It's Dune wipes. Wash your sandy ass. And it's,
I will wash my sandy banana first, Sean. Thank you very much. I was going to
say the Prince of Persia's really in favor of that one. but in any case, I like how Dominic needed a second to remove the mask, and he got grilled for it on commentary.
He did. Michael Cole loves going off on Dominic. It's so funny.
He does. He really does. And, this thing with Dude Wipes was like, guys, come on.
Are you all 5 years old?
Yes, but you know what? It's Triple H back there. Of course they are. But this match, I mean, they all come to the ring. I don't really have any more additional to say about that. I was also starting, at this point, I was really starting to be tired because, ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania was on Easter Sunday, and I work at a church. I had to be up at 4 in the morning.
Bruh.
So having to watch WrestleMania all the way to 11 o'clock was just not in the cards. So this was where I was, like, fighting myself to stay awake. And there will be a point later where I will mention where I went to bed and resumed watching on the day we're recording.
Yeah. To
get the rest of it in because I was a sleepy man. But I did enjoy most of this match for what I saw of it. I really wish that Penta's arm breaker that he calls the sacrifice or whatever it is, I still wish that were actually sold as something more lethal than it is now.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's just me being picky. The double German by Braun was really nice.
That was nuts. That was nuts.
And then the rest of this match mostly centered around Carlito.
Oh my. Okay, first off, there was a spot early on where two people were on the floor on the outside, and I think Finn was up against the barricade. Out of nowhere comes a flying Braun Breaker like 10 feet off the ground. Holy shit. And he just obliterates him. Braun Breaker is my future husband. I love this dude.
He's a future world's champion, man. There's no doubt about
guy.
that. I'm guessing that's what's going to happen with Braun is he's going to get elevated in this next calendar year.
he's so incredible. And
Yeah,
I
he
love
is.
that at the like the hype show they had like before Mania, he did the Steiner math promo, which was hilarious.
It was very good.
Yeah. But speaking of Carlito, you want to talk about a sacrifice? Okay, so they have these weird casino like dealer looking poker table announce tables, which actually looked really cool, and I like how it fit in with the theme of the Vegas theme. So Carlito has Penta on one table. I don't know what he was thinking of doing, but
Well, because Carlito was fucking with everybody for like 5 or 6 minutes, and Dominic and Balor had the allegiance, and it was gone even after the Penta driver, and then Carlito's just dicking with everybody here, and then they set Vince up,
and then the idea was, Braun once sawed Carlito in half with an amazing looking spear. How can we top that? Let's have him leap all the way from one table to the other and destroy the table with Carlito. And Michael Cole had like 3 orgasms reacting to this. And Pat McAfee was dancing like he had ants in his pants. It was amazing and hysterical all at once. Carlito is dead. He is deceased.
Well, and they all said that.
Oh, it was great.
They're like, I think he's dead. And Wade's like, Carlito's dead, but like we still got a match to do. Like Wade was just already past it. Like it's just fucking Carlito. Like we got 4 people in a match here.
No one knows why he's out here. The story of his career.
And you know what? That's become a great little gimmick for Carlito.
Honestly, yeah.
Because he's leaned into it.
Yeah, he really has. He really has.
And I loved how crazy the crowd was for Dom.
Yeah.
And he finally wins with a very similar finish.
The exact same finish that we got in the triple threat, like 2 matches prior.
Balor hits a coup de grace on somebody.
Braun.
I think it was Braun. And then he goes for the cover, and Dom gets a frog splash on the Balor and pins Balor and wins the belt. And this is nice because Braun didn't take the pin to lose this belt, which is, I'm sure, why they booked this to begin with.
Yes.
Penta got a lot of good shit in, but he shouldn't be losing being the fall guy for matches like this.
And everyone is used to Finn Balor getting pinned all the time.
And I think that is just what they like doing with Balor.
Dude, people online call him Pin Balor for a reason.
Well, it's true, and I feel bad because I've grown on Finn Balor. I like Yabu.
Yeah.
And he was actually quite softer on the Yabus on this matchup than I would have liked.
Well, he has 3 other people in the ring to drown it out.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop him at the Rumble.
You know what? You're right.
So we could hear him over everybody at the Rumble.
Yes, Yabu was part of the commentary almost.
It really was, though. I mean, he was screaming it.
Hey, when I was watching the Rumble live, I could hear it off in the distance from my house.
But in any case, but the finish was fine. The pop was great. But God, didn't they just do this finish? Like
yes, they did. Ago? This was such a weird WrestleMania.
It really was. I'm like, listen, I'm all about structural unity, but like,
Wrestle
you couldn't come up with anything else than this.
This was Wrestle Weirdia.
Yeah.
But I will say, Dominic Mysterio has come such a long way.
I'm so proud of that dude.
Me too, because
took that heel turn and made it work so well for him that he just got a crazy pop for winning the Intercontinental belt at WrestleMania.
We were so done with him just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Because he was
young and he was inexperienced and it didn't look like he was getting anywhere. And now he has just become so much different.
Oh, yeah.
And so much so valuable to WWE, I think, in the long run. I'm happy for Dom.
Also, thankfully, we're hopefully either getting the implosion of the Judgment Day or Finn Balor getting removed from the group, because they need some kind of structural change with that group. They keep talking about, Dom keeps wanting to add a new member. I'm thinking we might be getting that as we speak, because it is a Monday while we're filming this.
Well, it is definitely possible, and this is what Skyler would normally be telling us in the middle of it, as he would be watching concurrently, because he's 100% devoted to the integrity of the podcast.
I was gonna say he's a good multitasker, but then you gave you gave him a backhanded compliment.
Yes, Adderall is a hell of a drug, and actually, I joke about that. I have no idea whether Skyler takes the Addies or not. That's between him and the great God
and his dealer.
And maybe if that's the case, which may be a pharmacist, who knows?
Wink, wink. A lot of winking happening now.
But speaking of people who take different kinds of medicine, it's Randy Orton versus somebody. As I wrote down,
I really, really liked the video package that they gave for it. Was in a similar vein as the CM Punk one before the triple threat. Not as this is CM Punk's match as it was for Randy Orton, but it was a nice look back at his entire career.
It was, and I will say this as well. I am so relieved that it wasn't Kevin Owens.
I was a little worried about that myself. And I'm also happy that it was not Aleister Black or Rusev, because I was like, are you going to bring back a guy to beat Randy Orton when he's likely wrestling John Cena at the next pay-per-view in St. Louis? Or are you going to beat one of the new former AEW signees in their first match back?
No, and instead, let's all just beat the shit out of TNA. You know, as much as we've loved to teabag Tony Khan, sometimes we just got to go back to doing what we like doing. Making fun of TNA, beating their world's champion with Orton in under 5 minutes. That's what we need right now. A good old-fashioned TNA beating.
But I will say, I popped so hard when Joe Hendry's music hit.
So did Vegas. So did I.
Yeah.
Joe Hendry is going to be huge in WWE when he comes more regularly.
He's going to replace Jey Uso.
Yes, I think Joe Hendry's matches are a little bit better.
That's one reason why. That's one reason why.
But Joe Hendry, I thought this was the funniest thing, but what a Twilight Zone world we live in. That the TNA World's Champion is in a wrestling match against one of the WWE stalwarts at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it feels like we fell into a weird time vortex at some point.
The TNA title is on WrestleMania programming.
Yep.
Not just a Raw, but WrestleMania. That is insanely cool.
That is really cool. And it's not like it was a squash, but at least Joe got some moves in.
It was a fun squash, though. And honestly, it wasn't even about the match at that point. It was just about, hey, we here in WWE also believe in Joe Hendry.
Yeah. Although I will say,
give us some time to get him here.
I will say, what made me laugh even harder than the finish was Randy Orton. I don't think they meant to, but they kind of buried the absolute shit out of Joe Hendry's finishing move. Because he tried to go for a choke slam, and Randy just looked at him like, what the fuck are you doing? And Joe almost went, I don't know. And the commentary was like, well, that didn't work. And he just shrugged it off. I was like, well, that was Joe Hendry's finishing move. We might need a new one now.
Well, because they love reserving choke slams for people who are bigger.
Yeah.
You know, that's why Shane Helms got chewed out by Shawn Michaels for doing the choke slam.
Yeah.
You know, so it's they're weird about that, but it's in any case, I do have to say the Joe turning around and doing the smile, and then and Orton coming in from the side frame with the RKO was classically funny.
That was hysterical. It was so funny.
It was exactly what it needed to be. It didn't need to be more than that. Joe Hendry got a great moment at WrestleMania that I'm happy that he got.
And then Randy Orton did the spin around, smile, Orton douche pose.
Yeah.
I love Randy Orton so much.
It was great. Honestly, it was wonderful. And I loved the tiny piece of lore of Orton wearing the shiny, like, navy blue or purple and yellow that he used to wear when he originally showed up in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great little touch of, like, just 20 years, you know, of WrestleMania or whatever it was that he said it was. And it was just a nice little touch. I appreciated that as well. So then they show some Travis Scott, just in case you weren't aware of who they were trying to get over in the main event.
Just in case you were enjoying the show.
And, well, I sure enjoyed what was coming up. I really, and as a matter of fact, I know you said this did in the chat previously that this didn't necessarily hit the cylinders that you were hoping it would, but I would argue that this was my favorite wrestling match of the weekend.
Really?
I really enjoyed this. And now it is very likely that I really enjoyed this because I got some adequate sleep between Orton and Joe Hendry and AJ Styles and Logan Paul, which at this point I was sleepwatching, meaning I was falling asleep, waking up, seeing like half a move, and falling back asleep.
Yeah, that's when you know. Okay, I'll watch the rest of this tomorrow.
I'm like, you know what? I'm actually just gonna take a look at this with fresh eyes, and go on from here. So I watched this this morning at the time of recording, and it started off very good for me when AJ came out to his regular ass theme.
To be fair, he's had his regular theme since he came back as a babyface. But still, it is nice to hear his old theme again.
Because that other theme was hot garbage.
I didn't hate it, but it was not as good.
Yeah, and so it was nice having AJ come back out to that. That being said, Logan Paul's new theme sucks.
Yep. Nothing wrong with his older one.
Nope. That one was just fine. I didn't like the drone shots at first, but I warmed up to them.
My thing is, I also enjoyed this match, but I just felt like it was... When you watch a match, it gets going, and then it builds, and then it builds, and then it gets into that next gear. It just felt like it was stuck in the gear before that next gear, and then the thing with Karrion Kross happened, and then it just ended. And I was like, AJ just cannot get out of the box at WrestleMania for some reason.
Well, it also might have gone longer than it maybe should have. I think they unloaded a lot on each other in this matchup. Yeah. And they were given a lot of time to do it.
Although I will say, Logan Paul did the most incredible lion salt ever.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
He cleared almost the entire ring. Holy shit, this dude's athletic.
Yeah, he sure is. You know, but I loved... There were little storytelling bits in this that I really liked. Like AJ Styles tricked Logan Paul and sucked Logan into the apron and started dealing it with him. And then later on, when Logan Paul puts AJ back into the ring, he uses the apron to choke AJ. So he figured out, he's using the apron, but in a much more heelish way. Mm-hmm. To guard that. So it was little details about this match that I really liked.
It showed that Logan was learning as he was wrestling.
Yes, and nice. Logan broke up the count. Mm-hmm. Like that he did that. The Irish whip and the overbomb. And then the Hulk Hogan jokes that all the commentary made.
when Pat McAfee went, brother, it was like he was trying to do it out of the microphone's reach a little bit, like, brother. I laughed a little bit. That was funny.
Oh, that was really good. They're like, oh, that fans aren't gonna like that.
Nope.
Nope. It was like, oh man, that was so funny. That was really good. And then, but then the moonsault to pin was nice, but scary close.
Mm.
As and then the only censor in the entire night.
I laughed so hard at this.
AJ's like, fuck you, I'm not losing. I'm not fucking losing.
He said that and he flipped him off and the screen just went black. And I was like, oh, okay.
All right then.
AJ, you need to calm down.
It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, but it's funny that he did that and he said, fuck you, and then he just got upset at Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
But then we get the Yoshi Garoshi and the Brainbuster.
Mm-hmm. The way that Logan bumped out of that Brainbuster onto his front, that Logan can bump.
Logan is a tremendous seller.
Yes.
I really have to give him credit for that. And I think that's I think kicked things into higher gear for me. Especially,
honestly, I've never seen someone bump out of a Brainbuster like that except in video games.
Yeah. And he did. I mean, and there was just a lot of and then we get this phenomenal forearm counter into the rolling senton into that lion salt 2/3 of the way from the actual ring, which was really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And he got the 2 count there, and AJ starts kicking Logan back nastily.
Dude, this was honestly one of my favorite things in the whole match, where he's trying to get him out of the corner to go for the Styles Clash, but Logan's hanging on. So while still holding him in Styles Clash position, he backs up a teeny bit and just starts kicking the shit out of him. I was like, ooh,
shit out of him.
That's one way to do it. That's one way to do it.
Loudly. And, Logan still gets out of it and does a buckshot lariat that Cole could not figure out what to call.
And still looks better than Hangman.
You want to call it the buckshot lariat. But then Logan gets AJ into the corner, starts doing those gut punches. His strikes always look tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
And then AJ, what did AJ do here? That was this like rotating bomb that he did.
It was a torture rack power bomb.
He hasn't done that in forever.
Yeah.
Dude. In forever. I'm like, that is an oldie from AJ.
Oh, yeah.
But it was great to see him pull that out. And then this may be my favorite part of the whole matchup. Logan Paul does a Styles Clash. And AJ goes down, but he's kind of like, he shakes it off, not quickly, but he shakes it off and then delivers one to Logan Paul, and Logan Paul sells it like death.
Yep.
And it's just the idea of like, Logan Paul uses the Styles Clash, but it's not as effective as AJ Styles Clash.
And Wade
AJ Styles.
And Wade Barrett pointed it out on commentary. He was like, he got up because Logan Paul can't do that move as well as AJ can.
Yeah, it was the little things in this match that got it for me. There was little subtle storytelling throughout the whole thing that these two, I think, did a very good job with. And actually, I think they have a great chemistry together. AJ has great chemistry with literally fucking everything. And so that's not surprising at all. But, and then we get to this Karrion Kross thing, and by God, Karrion Kross got a pop.
Yep.
I was stunned.
Dude.
I'm like, wait, people know who he is and like him now?
Dude, when he was in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown, when he got eliminated, the crowd was furious.
Wow.
Like, the crowd was angry when he got eliminated. And it's because of the little character work he's been doing behind the scenes, for the entirety for most of last year. People have been slowly growing on him.
Yeah. Well, this whole thing and his confrontation with AJ, I'm like, and I understood why he was upset, what he was asking AJ to do. he stopped Logan Paul's little toady from handing the brass knucks over.
Mm-hmm.
And said to AJ, come on, do us all a favor. Do us a solid. And AJ's like, well, I did say fuck you earlier, but no, I don't want to use brass knucks.
Also, the referee was kind of watching that entire interaction.
Yeah, so AJ hit Karrion Kross, but ultimately turning down the knucks costs him because he gets the punch to the face and then the pulverizer, which is a cool finish.
Mm-hmm.
But I am now re-interested in Karrion Kross, and I loved this. I mean, I think it got it across. Yeah, everyone's pissed that Logan Paul's a piece of shit in real life, but that was still a hell of a match. And Logan Paul is still going to put in the work to give good matches. So long as he's doing that, I really could give a fuck. Also,
he's a heel. You're not supposed to like him. The more you hate him, good.
Yeah. That's, it's a bonus to me that he's a piece of shit in real life.
Yeah.
The fact that he's naturally got heat just makes him better in the professional wrestling sphere.
Agreed.
That's really all it is. But I really liked this match. I would say this was my favorite match top to bottom of the weekend.
It definitely was not one of my favorites. I thought it was good. I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't as good as I thought it could be. But also, I just feel like whenever AJ wrestles at WrestleMania, like, granted, he didn't have a light blinding half the crowd this time, like he did last year with LA Knight, and 5 years before that with Randy Orton.
Or an obsession with balls.
Yeah, love you, Shinsuke. Or Edge. Or Edge right on the precipice of ruining his image.
Yeah. Edge just being Edge has really hurt a lot of people, we've come to find out.
Yeah.
But
this was
in either case.
Yeah. This was good. I didn't love it, but I thought it was good.
Well, I mean, I understand the points you make with it too. It's like and this show was full of matches that were by and large pretty good.
Yeah.
So this was up to this point. I really enjoyed that. And I mean, at this point, two things had been spoiled for me. I mean, I already knew that John was going to win the belt, but I also knew that somebody wasn't going to show up at the end of the night. But that's all I knew.
Yeah.
And we get more UFC acknowledges, and Michael Cole loves black rappers, we found out. That was a theme on the whole weekend. Every time there was some rapper out there, Cole's like, oh, it's my dude. It's like, please, relax.
He is really getting into this I'm the whitest dad possible gimmick.
Michael Cole, 2044. Quavo! No, it's okay, Cole. Take your meds. It's okay. He's my man. It's okay. It's okay. Take your meds.
We know. He hasn't sold a good record in like 30 years. Relax, Michael.
Although I was happy to see Flavor Flav. That was he was cool. Anyway, let's talk about women's tag wrestling.
Do we have to? Okay,
yes,
that's honestly not super fair because there was only one person in this match that I hated.
Well, and there's really only one person that deserves the hatred, and she was not good in this match.
No.
Liv Morgan gets pops. It is sad that Raquel is on her like a remora on a stingray or a leech.
That's better. That's much better.
Or Raquel is like a barnacle. Raquel the Barnacle Rodriguez and Liv Morgan versus Flappy Bird Lyra Valkyria
and
a mystery partner
who was such a mystery that everyone was saying it's Becky Lynch.
Well, they only put the camera on her like 48,000 times over the weekend.
Yeah.
So, but it has been long enough a time that I was happy enough to see her back.
A lot of people are like getting annoyed with Becky. Like, she just returns to win championships. And I'm just like, dude, it's the women's tag belts.
It's the tag belts.
Who cares?
calm down, dude.
It's not like when she returned and immediately beat Bianca. That was bad, but it built to something that was
the fact that the women's tag belts have gotten more pay-per-view time than either version of the men's tag belts over the past calendar year.
Yeah.
If you really want to get upset at something about tag wrestling.
Yeah, or the crowd absolutely going to the bathroom during the World Tag Team title match on night 1.
Yeah, well, and now, that being said, Becky comes back, and this match wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was fine.
It was fine whenever Raquel was not involved. When it was Liv and Lyra or Liv and Becky, it was fine. But holy shit, Raquel Rodriguez is terrible.
Raquel keeps looking like she doesn't know what's happening next.
Exactly. It kind of made me think of Charlotte in the match with Tiffany, but Charlotte was sloppy because she just doesn't want to, because she hates everyone.
Correct.
Raquel was a different kind, the same level of sloppy, but because she just isn't a good wrestler.
Yeah.
She's she fucked up so much shit in this match.
She did. And now that being said, I do love, at first I thought it was silly, and it is still silly, but I have to say, I love this Flappy Bird gimmick with Lyra Valkyria. This is the funniest thing. Seeing her come out with birds and just flapping them and everyone going, caw! Caw! It's so funny. I don't know why. I'm enamored with it.
She's female Finn Balor. He goes, yeah, boo. She goes, woo! Woo! If you're Irish and you don't have that big of a personality, make loud noises a lot and Sean will like you.
It just cracks me up. It does. I don't know what it is. I wish she would do it more in the ring.
And what was even funnier is even the commentator, like, when she took the arm feather things off, I was like, she's going to remove the head part, right? She's going to remove the head part, right? Nope, that was her attire for the match. And feathers were going everywhere.
I literally saw Hayden Christensen staring at you when you said that.
I'm glad you knew what read I was going for. But there were feathers all over the ring, and even the commentator was like, oh, the feathers are flying.
Oh, man.
That hair thing was more ridiculous than Alicia Taylor's hair.
It's really wild, and it's not often that somebody looks sillier than Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
But man, Lyra made up for all of the regular costume that Becky looked downright normal.
Yeah.
Compared
to this human bird hybrid.
I love this. It's like Lyra pitched to Triple H, hey, have you ever seen Rick and Morty? So there's this character Bird Person. I want to basically just be that.
My favorite character from Sesame Street is Big Bird.
Big Bird.
Be my gimmick?
I have to live up to my heritage.
Sure.
Yeah. And somehow it is getting dumb idiots like me over.
And my favorite character in Dragon Ball Z is Android 16 because he loves birds.
Yeah, literally. The Ornithological Society is going off on it.
They need to change Lyra's theme song to Bird, Bird, Bird. Bird is the word.
That was just about to. I was formulating the bird is the word reference I was gonna make.
Oh
but
my god, I love Lyra so much.
You know what? I say fly with this gimmick as much as you can, and just you know what? Just don't get too close to the sun.
Right. I knew an Icarus reference was coming at some point.
Yes, but you know what? Some wrestling gimmicks are stupid, and we tell you to stop.
Dude,
in Lyra's case, keep doing what you're doing.
Dude, if Lyra is Icarus, Becky is so Daedalus.
Yes.
She so is.
Well, and we get through this match, and we get to the heat. Liv's Three Amigos don't get as much heat, given that Dom already did it.
Yep.
But man, Raquel has no gift for timing at all.
Nope.
She's always stutter stepping or confused.
Yep. Or missing. Just whiffing.
Yeah. She's not great.
Nope.
But once Becky got the hot tag this picked up, it did not overstay its welcome. She got the Molly go round into the Bexploder. You know, things, you know, she was getting fed beautifully by Liv and Raquel occasionally.
When Raquel remembered where she was supposed to be.
Yes, which didn't happen all the time, but it did happen. But then, you know, Liv hits an Oblivion, which is a 2 count, and Becky, you know, finally there was some schmoz at the very end. And then Becky wins with the manhandle slam.
Your favorite.
And what I said was, oh, Becky won with the rock bottom, and the rock bottom will be the only appearance that he makes tonight.
Yep. You were not wrong.
You have just seen all of the rock that you are going to see in Becky's manhandle slam.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought this tag match, it was a women's tag match that was clearly prepping us for the main event. It wasn't meant to be there for any other reason than to get Becky Lynch over and to get her back into the fold. It was fine. It served its purpose, and it could have been way worse, and it ended up being a good match.
And one cool thing, aside from all the jokes about Lyra, she has 2 belts, and that's pretty cool.
That is very cool. One for each wing.
Yes.
And I hope they don't weigh her down as she flies from building to building. As well, and it's a good thing she's flying because she definitely doesn't want to be driving.
Nope.
Because here
oh
comes
my God.
Steve Austin.
So, Steve.
This
Steve
right here,
Steve.
this rivaled Shane McMahon tearing his quad in the middle of the ring as far as one of the funniest attendance moments of all time.
Sean, when you edit together your copy of the podcast, you have to get the exact frame where he crashed into the barricade and use that as the image.
God, this was
crying.
The fucking funniest.
Oh Lord,
this was so good. Austin shows up.
He sure did.
With the ATV in our vehicle display ceremony, as we've been doing all weekend.
And this one quickly escalated into near vehicular homicide.
ATV is Austin spending it down there. You know he's had some beer.
He's had some libation.
You know, I'm sure that, honestly, a breathalyzer test would probably not have allowed him on that ATV.
He's lucky he didn't drive off the ramp by accident.
Yeah, he was, but he goes out there, the crowd's going crazy, and he does a loop and a half around the ring, and then he hits he went to go hit the brakes, and he hit the acceleration, and he bashed square into this barricade, going a good 15 miles an hour.
Oh, man.
And he hit this thing, whoosh, and this lady fell over and turned around and started cutting a promo on Steve. He was Karen mad.
Oh my God.
Sitting there like, oh shit, lady, my bad, and just goes into the ring.
No. The funniest thing. You could see him trying to put it in reverse and backing up, but no, that thing was done. He could not get it to move, and you could see the panic.
Right in front of this Karen to make sure that she knew what had just happened.
But you want to know what made me laugh the hardest? I didn't realize that he accidentally knocked anyone over. Until, like, when he was about to leave or whatever, like, a few minutes later, they cut back over there when he was walking, and Nick Khan was there, reaching over the barricade to make sure this person was alive, and that was when I was like, oh, no!
Yeah.
When Nick Khan shows any kind of emotion whatsoever, we have trouble.
Oh, Stone Cold, that was the fucking funniest. Stone Cold losing control of the ATV and just running over some old lady in the fucking crowd. That's the kind of Steve Austin interference I want to see on my wrestling show.
And then, if that weren't bad enough, there's fan footage of backstage. He hit someone else.
And now we know why Steve demanded a recount. He killed like 3 of the 63,600. It's like, no, that ain't right because I just took care of a few of them.
No, it's too high. I think I just removed one.
No, I think they overshot it a little.
I need to manually fix this number myself.
But I also like the fact that Austin somewhat alluded to the fact that WWE has padded their attendance numbers over the years. It's like breaking that kayfabe too, which is hilarious. And him counting and getting the what's was hilarious as well. But him actually coming out and doing a shtick was the least important part of this segment.
No, yeah. I was
him crashing the ATV into the people and then demanding a recount of the attendance figures like he didn't just kill half of the people in it. This was great.
This was my favorite Steve Austin moment of all time.
This was great. This was one of the best there has been of Steve of late. This is what I want to see out of Steve.
Maybe now he can emotionally recover from Rikishi running him over. He can run
whatever happens in Vegas stayed in Vegas.
I'm gonna transfer my trauma. I'm gonna transfer my trauma.
Oh man.
Oh, that was hysterical.
So yes, that was the right amount of comic relief that we all needed for this segment. I watched this at my church this morning because I work at a church, and I watched this, and it was kind of the same look I had on my face when Shane went down, and he just sat there, and it's like, oh no. It was just too good. It was too good. Oh man, Steve, never change. Never change.
Maybe
Steve.
drink after you get on the ATV next time.
That was fantastic.
It'll save your company a few lawsuits.
Oh man, that was great. Well, it certainly will take our minds off of it. At least all the harm that Steve does is just hurting a few attendance folk.
Yeah.
He's not like this counterpart from the Attitude Era.
Who's actively harming the business
Who's
itself.
actively damaging the booking and the overall vibe and energy of all of these shows. It's time for our main event. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the world undisputed WWE Championship. Now, I will say this. I already knew there was no Rock. We're going to get to that part of this in just a second. In a vacuum, I liked this match. I thought the match was great up until a certain point. Then it got pretty stupid. And then it got back to being good. I don't hate this finish. I don't hate this match. And I think that if there was a certain factor removed from this equation altogether, and from the storytelling of it altogether, we would be looking at this main event in a much better regard.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And honestly, while this was my least favorite thing all weekend, up until a certain point, I was like, I was with it. I was enjoying it. It was building and building. It's just what it built to I have a problem with. That and, honestly, once again, Vegas sucks. Don't ever go back there. Them booing Cody kind of threw off the vibe of this match, and you can tell that Cody and John were trying to adjust a little bit.
Yeah.
Which
and
it didn't make it bad, but it made it weird.
Well, and it's difficult because John said a lot of true things about Cody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that people were turning on Cody. I don't think that was it. It's just that
I forgive
John
it.
Cena.
I forgive it because This is John Cena's last WrestleMania. He's going for the record. He turned heel, and no one ever thought that would ever happen. There's a lot of reasons why the crowd was behind. They weren't so much anti-Cody as they were pro John Cena.
Yeah, and I loved this entrance. White text, black background.
Me too.
That's it.
It was perfect.
It was cinema. It was all the color is gone from no more Fruity Pebbles.
Mm-hmm.
It is purely Cocoa Puffs here in this son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get cool radical dirt bikes. Let's showcase more vehicles.
I like Downhill Domination too. That's a reference for
they didn't learn their lesson from Austin just a couple minutes ago.
Well, to be fair, none of those people had libations beforehand.
Yeah, but what if that we know of? But what if one of those dirt bikers hit one of the pillars that all of those fans are on, and they all collapse and they fell? Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that image, but right after Steve Austin hits a fan there, one of the bikers hits a pillar, all those people on the top of the stage fall over.
And then everyone realizes, oh crap, we have to drive home.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well...
and then Cody comes out with his weird Captain Grimm automatic helmet.
I was going to say, hey, Mr. Grimm got the Iron Man DLC.
Hey, Season 2 of Twisted Metal is going to start any day now, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, me too. I was going to say, somebody added a moss. Somebody ROM-hacked Cody. And they added the Iron Man face onto Cody Rhodes as Mr. Grimm.
Oh, man.
Then we get Brandy Rhodes and Liberty. And they're there, and Cena goes, and Cody goes, "Hi, I love you, family. I'm going to die soon." And
you're going to be very disappointed by what you're about to watch.
Well, they start this match, and it's Alicia Taylor being all Alicia Taylor on it.
Yep.
And it starts out with some basics.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote down, God, John is pale as fuck.
He sure is.
He is. Could you have just rubbed bellies with Paul Heyman and taken a little bit of that?
There are things that are certain in life: death, taxes, and world champions and wrestling companies named John who need a tan.
Pale Johns.
Yes, it's the era of Pale Johns.
Yeah, fuck the Renaissance era. It's the Pale Johns era. But John's strikes have sting. You could tell that John was putting more effort to look sharper in this entire matchup. When they do the couple things, headlock takeover, blah, 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 and Cena takes a powder, and, there's a lot of milk in this match. No surprise there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we will get to the most egregious milker later.
Oh, we will. Well, Cena hits a sidewalk slam and does a couple double axe handles.
Not gonna lie, I kind of popped when he did the sidewalk slam because he barely ever does that move, and it looks good whenever he does it.
Yeah, and I'm always a sucker for a double axe handle off the second rope. I know it's simple, but it's I've always liked it. So, but then we get a flurry and a thumb to the eyes into a tornado DDT, which was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cody starts to make a comeback. Do the AA, and then the what was it, the disaster kick?
Yep, and then the Cody cutter that he doesn't need to do, but he does it anyway because he's Cody.
Yep, and then we get a 2 count from that. Then we get a super AA with a 2 count. Then we get a super Cody cutter for a 2 count. Then the STFU, which looked more like an STF, and Cole called it the STFU, which was nice, but it looked bad.
Yeah.
I was like, why can't you do what you did with Punk? That was so much better. Why go back to looking like Cody just needs to duck his head and he's out of it?
Why just choke him with your biceps?
Yeah,
I don't
know. Which aren't even as impressive as they were before, that kind of validated it.
Or the same color anymore.
But yes, literally. And then there's a ref bump. And Cody does the crossroads, but there's no ref. I am glad they did this. because this made Cody at least look and feel strong during this whole cavalcade of debauchery.
We have now arrived at... Because up until this point, I was enjoying the match. I was with it. And you know what happened next, Sean?
Well, Cena took the turnbuckle pad off and got a 4th AA and a 2 count, and then...
Fiend, 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 fiend. If I never hear this song in my life again, oh my... Okay, this was where the match absolutely died for me. And
I don't see the point of why they did this.
Because The Rock wasn't there and they needed a proxy, and they were all, the whole week, they were talking about, oh, Travis Scott's going to get a receipt. But my biggest problem with this, if they would have done this 3 times faster, it would have been fine. But
this took a while. I skipped half of him getting to the ring. Because I watched this the day afterwards.
Watching this live was
must have been excruciating.
It was excruciating. He took... you could have watched The Lord of the Rings Return of the King Extended Edition by the time he was at the top of the entrance ramp to the ring. Took forever. And then he yanks the referee out of the ring after Cody's trying to pin Cena. And then, again, he gets in the ring, and if he would have gotten in the ring and then throws a punch and then Cody hits him with the crossroads, that would have been fine. But again, it took forever.
And he brought another fake belt to a world title situation.
That I also hated that. But I wouldn't have minded this if it didn't take so long. And then, of course, because the dude's not a wrestler, he's a rapper that I don't care about because I love you, Sean, but I'm not a big fan of rap. I'm sorry. White Nut.
Travis Scott is not rap. Travis Scott is bullshit. Yeah. I will not associate the two with each other.
But, like, he was trying to sell the Crossroads, but the part that really was just encapsulated everything wrong with this.
He just literally corpse sold. He didn't even bother to roll around. He literally just let Cody use his full strength to just kick him out of the ring.
That was part of the problem. Cody was, like, it took Cody 5 minutes to kick him out of the ring. Because what he was supposed to do was take the Crossroads and roll out of the ring and sell on the floor. But no, he's just dead in the ring, and Cody's like kicking at him to make sure he's dead, trying to get him out of the ring. And again, it took forever for him to finally get out of the ring. And then after that, for me, honestly, the whole Travis Scott thing taking forever killed this match. Because then they went back into, oh, it's Cody versus Cena with no ref now. And then Cody tries to do Cody's going to hit him with the belt because John Cena tries to hit Cody with the belt like at Elimination Chamber, but Cody stops him, he gets the belt, but he won't do it because John Cena is Cody's hero. Problem is, we already saw something similar to this with the AJ Styles-Logan Paul matchup. Very similar idea. And then Cena kicks Cody in the balls, which this is the second main event of WrestleMania in a row where it is revolved around a nut shot. And then he hits Cody in the brain with the belt. 1, 2, 3. And I was just sitting there, and the first thing out of my mouth was, that's it? That's it. And then they celebrate, and the show goes off the air. And I was like, fuck this. That sucked so hard. I absolutely... Like, I was fine with the match until the exact moment that Travis Scott came out. And it killed it for me, and that finish was absolute dog shit.
Well, I don't think it would have been dog shit if Travis Scott had not been involved.
Or if at least he didn't take 3 hours to do everything he did.
Yeah, because I don't hate the idea of Cody not wanting to do it with Cena because, you know, Cody has been hesitant to do it with people like AJ and I forget and Kevin Owens, but those two gave him reasons to do that to them, where Cena had basically just challenged him that he wouldn't have the balls to do that, and questioned Cody's morality in a way that the other two hadn't, and Cody had, you know, believed discretion was to not do it, but Cena made him pay for it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I do think that and the fact that he pinned Cody instead of choking him out, which I was dreading. I was dreading that he was going to choke him out the way he did Punk. Oh, the worst case scenario, he chokes him out.
But again, like you said, in a vacuum, everything they did would have been fine in a vacuum. But
well, and that's the thing. I don't even mind. The Travis Scott stuff was stupid. Here's what I didn't like about Travis Scott. It's not even that he was there. It's that he's there instead of The Rock.
Yup.
Like, that's a lateral substitution.
He was there to be The Rock's proxy.
And also, what bothers me about that is that John Cena looks at Travis Scott like, oh, thank God, my savior. And fucking Cody, as Cena's distracted, is begging on Travis Scott like Cody Rhodes is or like Travis Scott is an equal. And Travis Scott is worthy of intimidation and things like that. It's like, this is a fucking scrub.
But Sean, this is one WWE-ism that has not gone away with the administration change. They still get all googly gaga-eyed whenever a celebrity acknowledges their existence. Whenever a big quote-unquote star outside of wrestling acknowledges them, they cannot help but whip out their dicks and roll out the red carpet and worship them.
Well, the difference here in this situation is that a lot of the times they do that, but not, and they'll get like a choke slam or something in, or something like that, and they'll, have their one moment in the sun. This felt like they were trying to get Travis Scott over as a wrestler.
Yep.
And that's what A, scares the shit out of me, and B, annoys the fuck out of me. This is WrestleMania, and it's not about Travis Scott.
Yep.
And that's what bothers me about all of that. This isn't about him. He's bringing a fake belt to a spot, and then he sells like a corpse when he gets his comeuppance, which wasn't real comeuppance. That's not a real receipt. That's a work.
If this was The Rock instead of Travis, this would have been so much better. It would have made way more sense.
Or if The Rock had come with Travis Scott.
That's what I was expecting. And part of what was pissing me off when Travis was taking 35 years to get to the ring, the whole time I was like, The Rock's music's not hitting. Where's The Rock? Can you smell? Where is it? And it just, and for like the last like 5 to 6 to 7 minutes of this match, the whole time I was like, where is The Rock? If The Rock was going to be here, he would be here now. And he just wasn't. Well,
and I guess now we are at the point. We have to get to this point. So overall, I did not hate this match. I thought the match was great. It's just the biggest problem is it wasn't what was there. Mm-hmm. It's what wasn't there.
The saying was the elephant in the room. The problem is the elephant wasn't in the room.
Yes. And okay. When we did the State of Wrestling podcast and Skyler and myself talked, I said, if The Rock is not at WrestleMania, I'm going to be cutting a pretty intense level promo on him. Well,
here we are.
Here's what I'm going to say about The Rock. This WrestleMania build would have been better without The Rock. This WrestleMania build this John Cena turn would have been better without The Rock. This company would have been better without The Rock. And this is not even just talking about this past calendar year. Let's go back and see how many times The Rock has been spoon-fed this. Since 2004. When he was going to Hollywood, doing Scorpion King and things like that, and he returned as Hollywood Rock to work with Hogan and lose to the Hurricane, and then get speared by Goldberg and leave for another 9 months. He comes back and does a couple of things, but at least then you could make the case that he was still trying to be the team player for the WWE.
And he wasn't, and like when he came back at WrestleMania 20, it was in an undercard match.
Right. It was Rock and Sock versus Evolution, right?
Yeah.
So it was not, you still could handle that level. But then he shows up in 2011 and everything revolves around The Rock from that point on, to the point where, say what you want about The Miz, but the reason that The Miz was never, ever, ever taken seriously was how they booked that main event at WrestleMania 27.
Yep.
The Miz retained, and nobody even knew his name at the end of it because it looked like The Rock had won WrestleMania as the host.
Yep.
Just to set up next year's WrestleMania. Just so that everything that happened between then and now didn't make a fucking bit of difference. All the wrestlers beyond that, they were all beneath The Rock because they've already set up the match for a year later. Didn't have to do shit to get that main event. It's why Punk started getting off on the stuff that he was doing. And that attitude from The Rock and from management has never changed. The year after that, after Rock and Cena won, he wins the title from Punk.
Yep.
So that he and Cena can do their deal again.
And their rematch at 29 sucked.
It was nowhere near what the first one was.
No, the first one was actually good.
Like spilled his guts out really early in the matchup, so that didn't help. But,
yeah.
But in any case, but still, that whole period is really not that dissimilar to now. We think it's just in this recent period. No, The Rock has had this attitude and has been condoned in this attitude for well over 14 years now.
Yep.
The bad thing is, now he's got control of the office. And so he'll show up whenever he wants to prove that he's better than everybody there because he is The Rock.
And it's even worse because even back like in 2011, 12, 13, he was still doing all right in the box office and in the movies. Now, no one wants to see his movies anymore.
Because people see through the insincerity.
And also that, and he's been around for so long.
Yeah, doing the same movies.
Yep. Like there's a reason why people are sick and tired of Gal Gadot. There's a reason why people are sick and tired of Jack Black. People were getting sick and tired of Chris Pratt. There are some actors that are in everything, and you just get sick of seeing them.
Yeah, and honestly, his movies have been getting worse and worse in quality.
Yep.
And a lot of it is not even just specifically him, but there is a lot of it that is his name and his phoniness through it. Everything is about Instagram, and I have to do all of my good deeds with a camera crew around. It's everything is about The Rock's image. And everything is about just and look at how roided up that dude is, and tell me that that's not his number one focus is his image.
And the fact that in every movie he's in, it's in the contract that he can't lose a fight in a movie. Like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous.
And he thinks, and there's the Pets bottle story and all of that. But here's the thing that bothers me. He thinks that because the big, bad, scary world is turning on him, that he can use WWE as his safe house.
Yep, absolutely.
And he can come back and be adored and loved because this is my home and this is where I cut my teeth, and they're always going to love me here. And so when he just took that title from Cody and he got confused, genuinely confused, when everyone said, no, fuck you, we want Cody Rhodes, he didn't get it at first. Clearly, he didn't get it at first, and even though he would claim he said he's the one he's turning heel, I don't believe that for a fucking second. I don't believe he's the one who suggested to do that. I think they made the best of a situation because they knew that they had one shot to regain the goodwill of the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And Triple H righted that ship.
Yep.
That's what I think happened there. And then just to make The Rock feel good, they did the documentary to make it feel like The Rock came up with that idea himself. We'll know there's no doubting the length that he will go to stroke his own ego, hence giving himself a fake belt from somebody he never had any real interaction with Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And that has been his attitude forever. And then we get into this past calendar year where he shows up twice. He shows up at Bad Blood just to take a main event Hell in a Cell match away from Punk and Drew, to stand there and point his finger up in the air, cut a promo on Instagram, do nothing until he can get drunk at the first Raw on Netflix and talk nonsense to Cody Rhodes about, and in the next couple of weeks about I Want Your Soul, and our grandmas used to go play bingo on Thursday nights at the fucking rec center and go through all that. They do the Sell Your Soul thing so that, and he wants Cody to turn. He wants the cash cow babyface to turn heel like Austin, and that gets rejected. So Cena gets in, and that must disdain Rock so much that his second precious idea is fucking not gonna go, that he just decides to abandon WrestleMania altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's beneath him to actually remain involved in an angry thing. And here's the thing: I didn't put up with 20 years of Vince's bullshit just to deal with another 15 years of The Rock's. I didn't say to you, stop fucking with my wrestling. And it's shouldn't be one problem for another problem. That is not the issue. And I know that Vince in part created this problem because he's the one who encouraged all of this. But here's my problem with this. He thinks this place is a safe haven. And I hope, and I really do believe that people are now, especially with the way this ended, people are not going to let this place be a safe haven for him. So I implore all of you out there, and I know you can like The Rock and you can like what The Rock has accomplished. So I'm going to make a distinguishment here. I am not talking about The Rock. I'm talking about Dwayne. And I'm only going to refer to him as Dwayne from now on, or DWANYE West, if you really want to get into it. But I'm done with DWANYE. I am completely done with DWANYE. And at this point, I am urging all of the fans out there that every time The Rock is there, make sure he knows he is not welcome. Make sure, because this Mania feels so sour purely on the shoulders of The Rock deciding that he's more important than any of it. This is on the shoulders of him not showing up and truly revealing that he never really cares about this business. He cares about his image, he cares about money, and that's it. This feud would have been better without him. Travis Scott wouldn't have had to get involved in the first place at Elimination Chamber. We wouldn't have had the need for a receipt, and we wouldn't have had this Guga wedged in the middle of an otherwise great match that will always have an asterisk by it, which is not fair to John Cena.
This is his final WrestleMania, and he just broke the record.
He just broke the record and turned heel for this. And the guy who it was framed around couldn't be bothered to show up to actually make it feel like it meant what it was supposed to mean. If you're gonna fuck with it, follow through with it. Don't do this start and stop bullshit, because the only people who are going to be pissed off about it are the fans, and Triple H is going to be damaged by this because the goodwill that you built up last year, you have lost a good chunk of in doing what you have done to this show. This is not Triple H's fault. This WrestleMania feels flat purely because of DWANYE.
I second that. If there's one person I really feel bad for, it's Triple H. Because The Rock has been getting a lot of shit, deservedly so. But unfortunately, Triple H has also been getting a lot of shit over the past day or so.
He's going to be the fall guy for it long term.
He has absolutely been the fall guy, honestly, since the Royal Rumble. Because this whole build, not even just WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2, this whole build, like, has been felt like it's lacking something. Like, at the Rumble, we're like, what are you doing? Are you kind of doing some weird stuff? But we were, like, waiting to see where they go with it. Because we all, like, I questioned the Jey Uso thing. And we questioned the Charlotte thing, too. But it turned out to be a way to get Tiffany over. So, and Jey his moment happened. We're now on the falling action. Eventually, we'll eventually get to the resolution. But I remember out of Elimination Chamber, everyone was like, finally, it feels like WrestleMania season. We've got something. And then The Rock, still, to right now, has not shown up. And this has been it's been so unbearably noticeable since WrestleMania, since Raw after Mania last year, where he had that weird kind of almost homoerotic promo with The Rock. It was like, give me yours and I'll give you mine. And then we don't see him again until Bad Blood, just so he can do his favorite thing ever, which is steal CM Punk's main event, just for a brief 10-second cameo.
Just for the fuck of it, yeah.
With no follow-up whatsoever until Elimination Chamber, where, honestly, if he was involved and they had this, like, Hollywood heel cabal where it had, like, these weird, like, Hollywood Illuminati undertones, it could have worked. Another aspect that's so infuriating is if The Rock followed through and actually did and committed to this could have been a legendary, like, heel faction for a couple months. And it could have made John Cena's heel turn so incredible. But this
could have been an all-time angle for WWE.
What we could have had and what we got is such horseshit. And it's also because The Rock cannot decide whether he is a failed Hollywood actor or a wrestler. And I'm like, Dwayne, fucking pick one. This 1 foot in one world, 1 foot in the other shit has got to stop. Because it is...
And you're not liked in either anymore, and you're gonna lose both.
You are destroying the creative practices of this company. All of the goodwill that I feel so bad for Triple H. Because he got control, he got the keys to the kingdom in 2022 around SummerSlam. Then Vince McMahon tried to return and tried to ruin everything. And then finally he got kicked to the curb because of the awful things he was doing. And we were all like, okay, finally, Triple H and TKO, they've got the control back. And then The Rock tried to ruin everything. And then they had to pivot back. And 2024, for the most part, was a good year. And now 2025, Triple H is... It's like Triple H is playing a game of marbles where he's trying not to drop any marble. But he keeps getting sucker punched by assholes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
He's trying so hard to make this good and interesting. But, Rock, pick one. Either you're here or you're not.
Yeah.
Stop fucking up this show.
Yeah. And when I say, and I mean this with every intent, The Rock kind of ruined this WrestleMania for everybody.
Yeah, he did. Honestly.
And I will say this too. It's that, I feel bad that at the end of this show, instead of talking about all the hard work and the great matches that we saw over the weekend, which we saw a lot of good matches.
Yes, we did.
Over this weekend. What we have to talk about is this prick.
Yep.
We have to talk about his absence and talk about him instead of talking about what otherwise would have been a very good WrestleMania if The Rock hadn't ruined the vibes.
Yep.
And it's really unfortunate and a disservice to all of the hardworking wrestlers who this is their biggest moment. For some people, it will be their only biggest moment. And that's all taken away by the ghost of some dickbag, some roided up fucking lamb shank beanbag who fucking can't get his fucking shit together enough to decide whether he cares or not about the business that gives him goosebumps.
This WrestleMania will be remembered forever, not for all the good stuff we did get, and we got plenty of good stuff. Not even for John Cena's final WrestleMania where he broke the record. What are people going to be thinking about? Travis Scott taking forever and The Rock not being here because it wasn't worth his time. That's what people. That's what WrestleMania 41 and Las Vegas being a shitty crowd. That's what people are going to think about when they think of WrestleMania 41.
Well, so let's get to the ratings and then let's get the cluck out of here.
Yeah.
Because The Rock is clearly chicken. And and then so I said we would start with you first for this round, seeing it was started with me the last time. So your rating for WrestleMania Sunday, aka Night 2.
Before the main event, I was really enjoying this show, and I was leaning towards an 8 out of 10. And if we had gotten, something logical and not stupid in The Rock being an asshole, it could have been a 9 out of 10. 8.5, 9 out of 10, somewhere around that range. This main event sucked the life out of this show. In a vacuum, it was a good match, and I enjoyed it until it led to nothing. It was a good match that led absolutely nowhere, and also Travis Scott, who's still walking to the ring as we speak.
Fiend.
Also, that song sucks. It's an absolutely horrendous song, and the fact that passes for music nowadays, just the world we live in is a sad one. That main event, honestly, harmed this show a lot for me. And you might be a little surprised with what I'm going to give this show. I'm giving this show a 5 out of 10 for night 2. That's how much I hated this main event. What we could have gotten versus what we got.
Well, Skyler threw down a 6 for this, probably for the same reasons that we've litigated. I would not be surprised if that's really what knocked it down for him. I was way more generous.
Yeah.
Than either of the two of you. And the reason is that in a vacuum, all of these matches were good. All of these matches served a good purpose, and all of these matches were fun to watch, at least in parts, if not wholly. I'm hard pressed to think of something that I wasn't entertained at least somewhat in to some degree, and not everything overstayed its welcome either. It was just, it had a lot of quality action to it. And there was some diversity to it as well. I really enjoyed the matches. I really did. In a way that I didn't expect they would all be consistently enjoyable. The problem is, this show would otherwise be a really, really good show and a fondly looked back WrestleMania if we didn't have to put up with the fucking Rock. So I tried to be more generous for the sake of the wrestlers. I gave this an 8.5 because the matches were really good, but every piece of that 1.5 that this show lost is on the shoulders of DWANYE, because he is the one who's fucking this up.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock's fucking this up for all of us, and it's not right. It's not right. And I really think that there's going to be a reckoning with that at some point where Triple H is going to go, you know what? Enough is fucking enough. So I don't know. But WWE right now has a Rock problem.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have to figure out how to solve it. And I think we're going to see this play out more than we think.
Hey, Skyler, stop bragging about how correct you were all along.
That's right.
You stopped
It
that.
was me, Austin. It was me crashing that ATV all along. We have now officially crossed the plane of insanity.
Yeah.
As we often do at the end of a WrestleMania review. But what a time to be here. JoshAgeddon, thank you so much for being a part of both of these halves of our WrestleMania review.
And the entire one over here on TAW.
And the entire one over there that has gone on for an absurd amount of time. But folks, speaking of time, it is time to take our first commercial break. When we come back, Skyler will be back. We'll talk about AAA. We'll talk about what he feels about the show. We'll hear him gloat about him being right about The Rock and much, much more. Stay tuned for all of this and all that you could possibly ask for in podcast previous. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of the stuff that you know what to do. You hear it ad nauseum. And now we will be right back right after this.
And thank you all so much for bearing with us for 3 godforsaken hours. Still, Travis Scott's entrance in the middle of this main event at WrestleMania was still longer than this entire podcast. But thank you guys so much for listening. Fuck The Rock. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and we'll see you guys next time. Later, everybody. Seriously, fuck you, Dwayne.